In my past life, my roommate posted a composite photo online with the caption, "I saw it with my own eyes at 3 a.m. The top student brought the guy who's been chasing her inside, and he stayed the night. Who's she trying to fool with the goody two-shoes act? That guy pestered me relentlessly, but I never gave him the time of day. They deliberately spread lies to shame me." In the comments, I pleaded tearfully that none of it was true, but she replied with a laugh, right, nothing happened. They just lay in bed together with the lights off for some deep conversation. I totally get it. I totally do. The whole school started gossiping that I was promiscuous. My boyfriend believed it and dumped me in public. The school, bowing to public pressure, expelled me. In the end, I leaped from the dormitory roof. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment she had just posted the message, huddled on the top bunk. She giggled into her phone, covering her mouth. Let me tell you, no matter how aloof she acts in public, behind the scenes, I turned on my phone's voice recorder, smiled, and held the screen right up to her face. Don't stop, keep going, tell me, what exactly did I and that blonde guy do? 1. I gripped my phone and shoved the screen showing the recording interface right up to Lilia's mouth. She probably never expected that I, who usually wouldn't even start an argument, would confront her head-on in front of everyone in the dorm. She shrank back, leaning her upper body against the wall, putting on a fragile, startled act. "Oh my, Celeste, what are you doing? You scared me to death yelling like that. I've told you, I'm just the kind of person who says what's on my mind without a filter. It was just a joke. I just casually posted that thread on the forum. I can't believe you took it seriously." I held my phone up firmly, refusing to back down an inch. "Since it's a joke, let's see it through to the end." My voice wasn't loud, but it struck the white dorm wall like a hard, unyielding stone. "Go ahead and say, word for word in front of everyone, what you claim to have seen with your own eyes that night. I'm recording it right now. Let the whole school have a good laugh." A flicker of ecstasy gleamed in Lilia's eyes. She thought I was bluffing, that I wouldn't dare release the recording, since I'd be the one humiliated. "Celeste, don't push me, everyone's watching." She deliberately raised her voice, making sure every word carried to the students loitering in the hallway. "I really didn't mean to bring up that blonde guy sneaking in late at night." She covered her mouth, but her voice cut through like a spike. "I swear, I never said that at 2 in the morning. That blonde guy chasing after you quietly pushed open our dorm door and climbed right into your bed. You act so aloof during the day, but behind closed doors, you're wild." Then, she suddenly clamped her hand over her mouth, widened her eyes, and put on an exaggerated look of deep regret. "Look at my big mouth. Don't you all believe it for a second? Maybe they really did just come over for a late-night chat. Lights off, under the covers, talking all night. Perfectly normal, right? So let's not jump to conclusions." The dormitory fell into a dead silence. 3 seconds later, the hallway outside completely exploded. Whispers buzzed in like swarms of flies. "She always acts so aloof and superior, but who knew she was that kind of person? Stop pretending to be some straight-A goddess. Behind closed doors, she's easier than anyone. I've seen that blonde guy before. He's a total hoodlum. I can't believe they actually hooked up." My boyfriend, Asher, shoved his way through the hallway and stormed up to me like an enraged lion. "Celeste, what the hell is going on here?" Asher's eyes were bloodshot as he bored into me, on the bunk across from me. Another roommate who had always looked down on me for pretending to be virtuous wore a barely concealed smirk of schadenfreude. "I told you so." Always hearing noises in the middle of the night, I watched them scrambling around with cold eyes, not a trace of panic in me. Turning to the furious Asher, I asked one question with utter calm. "Asher, just because Lilia flapped her lips and said a few so-called jokes, you believed her?" Glancing at Lilia's smug, overjoyed face out of the corner of my eye, I sneered inwardly. These people ruined me in my past life. Now I'll make them pay back. 2. I gripped my phone, the record button glowing red. A flicker of struggle passed through Asher's eyes. Lilia, however, slapped her thigh and laughed. "Oh please, if you've done nothing wrong, why force Asher to take sides? Are you saying that Blondie didn't sneak in last Friday night? Go ahead and swear it. I'll kowtow to you." More than 20 people had gathered in the hallway, some holding up their phones to record. Asher pointed right at my nose. "Last Friday, did that blonde guy actually come into your dorm?" "He did," I said calmly. The whole room erupted. Lilia laughed like crazy. "Hear that?" She admitted it herself, veins bulging on his forehead. Asher spat. "Celeste, you've really let me down." I ignored him. Lilia turned to the beds across the dorm and shouted, "Tiffany, Runa, didn't you hear it that night too?" Tiffany stepped forward. "I got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and saw a guy sneaking out of our dorm. The silhouette looked like Blondie." Runa added, "I heard a guy's voice coming from your bed around 2 in the morning. I raised my phone toward them. Did you see his face clearly?" Tiffany shook her head. "The back looked a lot like him. The haircut, the black hoodie, that's what Blondie always wears." "So you didn't see his face?" I turned to Runa. "Are you sure the voice was Blondie's?" "For sure. I've heard him talking in the cafeteria before." Lilia raised her chin proudly. Ignoring her, I turned to the hallway. "Anyone else see or hear anything. Step forward. Hayden from the next class raised his hand. I was smoking downstairs around 2 a.m. and saw Di jump sneaking over the wall into the girls' dorm. I even took a photo. Did you actually see him go through our dorm door? Not exactly, but what else would someone be doing sneaking over the wall in the middle of the night? I scanned everyone in the room. Are you absolutely certain that every word you've said is true? No lies. Lilia let out a scornful laugh. We all saw it with our own eyes, and you still won't admit it. Tiffany nodded. I'm sure, Runa said. I'm sure. Hayden waved his phone. I'm sure I got it on video. I turned off the recording and tucked the phone into my pocket. Asher ripped off the scarf I gave him and threw it in my face. Celeste, you're nothing but a liar. I'd rather stay single for life than be with a trashy person like you. I took off the couple's necklace and placed it on the table, since you believe them. Let's break up. Lilia immediately pushed her way in and sneered. Break up, then. Asher spent a ton of money chasing you. You need to pay back every cent today. I pulled out my phone, added up every penny Asher had spent on me, bags, lipstick, meals, and transferred the total of 8,400 yuan back to his account in front of everyone. Money's returned. We're done. I turned around to leave. A commotion stirred in the hallway, and the crowd parted. Zane, the blonde, swaggered over with his hands in the pockets of his black hoodie. Lilia yelled out, Celeste, don't go. Look, your man Blondie is here. 3. I stopped in my tracks. Blondie's here. Perfect. Saves me the trouble of hunting him down. I turned my phone's voice recorder back on. The red light glowed as I held it steady at my side. In the hallway, the students who had gathered to watch raised their phones one by one. Some started live streams, others buzzed excitedly among themselves. Good. The more excited you are now, the more unforgettable this will be for you later. Lilia rushed up to me impatiently, pointed at my nose, and shrieked like a knife. Hey, Di Job, tell me, did Celeste sleep with you or not? Zane tilted his head, glanced at me, then at Lilia, and grinned. Yeah, we slept together. Why wouldn't we? He deliberately drew out his words in a lazy, nonchalant tone and shrugged. She has a mole on her chest, right below her left collarbone. Don't believe me? Ask her yourselves. The room erupted again. Murmurs turned into laughter and whistles. Holy shit, if he knows details like that, they've definitely slept together. Academic star, more like academic fake. That's disgusting, and yet Asher treats her like some kind of goddess. Without changing my expression, I held my phone out a little further, aiming it at Zane. You said I have a mole on my chest. Are you sure about that? Zane paused, probably not expecting me to be so calm. He stuck his neck out defiantly. Of course I'm sure. I saw it with my own eyes. You think I'm lying. You saw it with your own eyes. I pressed. When and where? Just last Friday night, in your dorm. You forgot. His eyes darted away, but his tone remained brash. Fine. I nodded and continued recording. Last Friday night. What time? Which door did you come in through? Who let you in? Zane was stumped for a moment. Lilia gave him a hard shove, and he stammered. 2 in the morning. I climbed over the low wall on the east side. You left the door unlocked for me. What was I wearing? I continued asking. You weren't wearing anything. As soon as he said it, another wave of laughter erupted from the crowd. I recorded every single word loud and clear. Are you sure you didn't see it wrong? The mole on my chest, just below my left collarbone. What color was it, and how big? Zane's forehead began to sweat, but he wasn't too deep to back out. It was black, the size of a soybean, right on the left side. I saw it as clear as day. Good. I turned off the recorder, put my phone away, and curled the corners of my mouth into a faint smile. Just then, a commanding female voice rang out from behind the crowd. What's going on here? Gathering to cause trouble. For Florence, the academic director, squeezed her way in. She was in her 50s, wearing gold-rimmed glasses. Her gaze swept over everyone present before finally landing on me. Celeste, you again. She frowned, her tone laced with undisguised disgust. Lilia rushed over to her as if seeing her own mother. Director Wang, perfect timing. Celeste brought a guy to spend the night in the dorm, and we caught her red-handed, but she won't admit it. Director Wang glanced at Lilia, then at Zane, and her expression darkened. You're not a student here. What are you doing in the female dormitory building? Zane shrank his neck back, but Lilia immediately cut in. Director Wang, he's the guy Celeste brought in to spend the night. He even admitted it himself. Director Wang turned around and fixed me with an icy stare. Celeste, I'm very disappointed in you. I thought you were a good student based on your grades, but I never expected you to be so loose with your morals. This is an extremely serious offense, and I will report it to the school administration immediately with a recommendation for expulsion. I lifted my head and met her gaze directly. Director Wang, expel me. On what grounds? On what grounds? Director Wang let out a cold laugh. With so many people seeing and hearing it with their own eyes and ears, and the guy Himself admitting it. You still have the nerve to ask on what grounds, so their word is the evidence. I shot back. No need for surveillance. No need for an investigation. Is this how you handle problems as the disciplinary director? Director Wang's face darkened, and her voice rose several notches. Celeste, don't you twist my words here. I've seen you and this blonde kid hanging around campus together more than once. Are you saying my eyes were wrong? I paused for a moment, then suddenly remembered something. Back when I first started college, Director Wang had called me in for a talk. She wanted me to transfer to her class and become the class monitor. I turned her down because I was doing just fine in my original class. Ever since then, she's never given me a friendly look in any situation, so that's how it is. In my past life, I just thought she had it in for me. Only now do I realize it wasn't just bias, it was deep-seated resentment. I smiled, calm and carefree. Director Wang, have you been holding a grudge ever since I refused to transfer to your class? Finally got your chance today, didn't you? Director Wang's face turned a deep shade of purple. That's nonsense. I'm being objective here. Objective? I looked her in the eye. All right, you said you've seen me with that blonde guy multiple times. Are you sure you didn't mistake someone else for me? Are you certain it was me? I'm absolutely sure. Director Wang said firmly, you were wearing that white down jacket with your hair in a ponytail. I wouldn't have mistaken you. What month? What day of the week? Around what time? I pressed. Director Wang hesitated, then mumbled, last winter. Who remembers the exact time? You can't remember the exact time, but you remember exactly what I was wearing. My voice was quiet, but every word landed like a nail. Director Wang's lips trembled a couple of times. Then she waved her hand in exasperation. Stop twisting my words. I'm calling the principal right now. You just wait to be expelled. She pulled out her phone and dialed, her voice so loud it echoed through the entire hallway. Principally, it's Florence. There's a major incident in the girls' dorm. A female student brought a social outsider to spend the night in her room. Multiple students have testified. The situation is egregious. I recommend immediate expulsion. I didn't stop her. I stood in the middle of the hallway, watching Lilia flash me a smug V for victory, watching the crowd of onlookers hold up their phones to film the scene, watching Asher glare at me with tearful eyes and call me shameless, and watching Director Wang hang up the phone and announce arrogantly, the principal is on his way. Good. In my past life, these were the very people who fed on my misery and drove me to the rooftop edge. Some spread rumors, some passed them on, some pretended to be righteous, some kicked me when I was down, some saw the truth but chose silence, and some disguised personal vendettas as fair discipline. Every single one of them thought they were just cracking a joke, joining in on the fun, or making the right decision. No one cared about the truth. No one cared if I lived or died. In this life, I won't be the one to jump. The ones who should jump are them. I pulled out my phone and calmly dialed 3 numbers. Beep, beep, beep. The call connected. My voice was clear and calm, echoing through the entire hallway. Hello, is this 110? I'd like to report a crime. The hallway fell silent instantly. I was drugged and raped. Everyone's expression changed. I looked up and scanned the faces of Lilia, Zane, Tiffany, Runa, Hayden, Kiki, Director Wang, Asher, and all those holding up their phones. The whole school can bear witness for me. 5. The police arrived faster than expected. Heavy footsteps echoed from the stairwell as 2 uniformed police officers walked up, followed by a middle-aged man in a suit. Principally, the students in the hallway fell silent instantly, hands holding phones lowered one by one, and some began to step back. My eyes landed on the principal, and tears welled up immediately. I wasn't faking it. In my past life, he was the one who signed the approval for my expulsion. I rushed forward, grabbing the sleeve of the nearest police officer. My voice was trembling, and my eyes were red. Officer, thank God you're finally here. I spun around and pointed my finger straight at Zane. It's him. He date raped me. The entire room gasped. My voice wasn't loud, but every word landed clearly in everyone's ears. Last Friday night, I don't know how I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I couldn't go on. I covered my face and cried. My shoulders shook as tears slipped through my fingers. All these people can testify for me. I jerked my head up and swept my tear-blurred gaze across every face in the hallway that had been gloating moments ago. Lilia, Tiffany, Runa, Hayden, Kiki, Director Wang, and all those bystanders who had held up their phones. They said it themselves. Just now, they saw Zane enter my dorm with their own eyes, heard the sounds with their own ears, and even took photos and recorded audio. I pointed at Lilia, my voice choked with sobs. Lilia, my own roommate, said she saw Zane sneak out of our dorm at 3 in the morning. I then pointed at Tiffany. She said she saw the back of his figure. I pointed at Runa. She said she heard a boy's voice. I pointed at Hayden. He said he took a photo of Zane climbing over the wall into the girls' dorm. I pointed at Kiki. She recorded an audio clip. Finally, I pointed to the Dean of Students, Florence, and Dean Wang said she personally witnessed Zane and me together as a couple many times. She couldn't be mistaken. 6. My hands were shaking, my voice was trembling, my whole body was quivering. So many people saw it, heard it, filmed it, recorded it. Zane even admitted it himself. He said I have a mole on my chest, and he even gave the exact location. I covered my face and sobbed. Gasping for air, "Officer, I don't even know this person. He pursued me, and I never once gave him the time of day. I don't know what happened that night. I really don't." A dead silence fell over the hallway. The two police officers exchanged a glance. The younger one pulled out a notebook and began writing. The older officer furrowed his brow, his gaze sweeping over everyone in the room. "Who said those words?" "Step forward." No one moved. Lilia's face had already turned pale. Zane jumped up in a panic, veins bulging on his forehead, his voice cracking. "No, that's not how it happened, officer. I didn't drug and rape her." He waved his hands frantically, his face turning bright red. We're both willing. She wanted it herself." The older officer ignored him and continued looking at the crowd in the hallway. "Those who just gave their statements, step forward, cooperate with the investigation." Still, no one moved. The onlooking students began to murmur among themselves, but their voices were as quiet as mosquitoes. Someone quietly slipped their phone into their pocket, while others started edging toward the stairwell. Just then, Lilia suddenly pushed her way out of the crowd, her face flushed bright red, hands on her hips, voice sharp and piercing. "Officer, she's lying." Lilia pointed at my nose, her eyes wide as saucers. It was Celeste herself who was living a loose life. "That blonde Zane has been after her for ages. She played hard to get. It takes two to tango. How can you call it date rape?" The more she spoke, the more worked up she got, her voice loud enough for the whole floor to hear. "She's just humiliated that we caught her and is lashing out." "Celeste, tell me, if you were drugged and raped, why didn't you call the police right away? Why wait until now?" "It's only because we caught you red-handed." 7. I covered my face, and my shoulders shook even more, but no one saw the slight curl of my lips behind my palm. The moment Lilia finished speaking, Zane latched onto it like a lifeline, straightening his back instantly. "Right, yes, exactly." He stepped forward, his tone shifting from flustered to forceful, even carrying a hint of self-righteousness. "Officer, Celeste and I are in a relationship. We've been dating for almost 2 months. What happened that night was just a normal intimate encounter." She consented. He turned to look at me, even managing to put on a slightly aggrieved expression. "Celeste, how could you do this? Can't we just part on good terms? Why call the police and try to destroy me?" In the hallway, a few onlooking students began whispering among themselves. "So that's how it is. Then Celeste is way out of line, calling the police just over a breakup. Isn't this a waste of police resources?" I slowly lowered my hand from covering my face. My eyes were still red, tears still clinging to my lashes, but suddenly my voice stopped trembling. "A couple's relationship." I stared at Zane, enunciating every word. "Since we're in a relationship, do you have my WeChat? How do we even keep in touch?" Zane opened his mouth, but no words came out. I turned to Lilia, my voice still calm. "Lilia, you said it takes two to tango, but when you said you saw Zane sneaking out of our dorm with your own eyes, when you saw him come in, did you see me put up a fight? When you heard the sounds, did you hear me call for help?" Lilia was stunned. You didn't shout then? So how was I supposed to know? So you didn't see me agree, and you didn't hear me refuse, yet you concluded I was willing." My voice wasn't loud, but every word landed like a needle on Lilia's face. The hallway fell silent again. The older police officer closed his notebook, glanced at Zane, then at Lilia, and spoke in a steady voice. "All of you, come back to the station with me to give statements. Everyone who just spoke, not one of you leaves." He turned to Principal Lee, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. "Principal Lee, I'll need you to pull the hallway footage for these dorm rooms." Principal Lee's face alternated between pale and livid. His lips quivered for a moment, then he nodded. I stood there quietly, eyes lowered. The tears had stopped, the play was over, time to close the net. 8. The atmosphere in the police station was even more oppressive than in the hallway. The incandescent light bathed the entire interrogation room in a stark, pale glow, and the air was thick with the smell of disinfectant and old documents. I sat upright in the chair, my back straight. Spread out before me was my phone. Call recordings, screenshots of posts, and transaction records, all open and neatly arranged. The officer across from me was named Gu, in his early 30s, with a steady, calm gaze. Beside him sat a young female officer responsible for taking notes. "Tell me what happened." I took a deep breath, my voice trembling slightly, but I enunciated every word clearly. "Last Friday night, I was sleeping normally in my dorm. When I woke up the next morning, something felt off with my body, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I didn't dare say anything at the time because I wasn't sure what had happened. My eyes welled up. Until today, my roommate Lilia posted on the school forum, claiming that I brought a guy into our dorm to spend the night. She included a photo. She said she saw it with her own eyes. At 3 in the morning, a guy with dyed yellow hair snuck out of our room. Then she confronted me publicly in the hallway, saying I usually act all pure and aloof but secretly live a wild Life. I opened the voice recording on my phone and pressed play. Lilia's voice came sharp and smug through the speaker. I saw that guy with the yellow hair sneak out of your dorm with my own eyes. Are you seriously going to deny that he came in last Friday night? Who do you think you're fooling? Officer Gu listened, his expression unchanged, but the tip of his pen paused on the notepad for an extra second. I'll take the recording, anything else? I nodded and continued scrolling down. The forum post is here, posted at 9:47 this morning. I don't remember taking a photo like this. I suspect it's been fabricated. I pushed my phone across, and then there were the others who were there. Tiffany said she saw a silhouette. Runa said she heard a guy's voice. Hayden claimed he got a photo of Zane climbing over the wall into the girls' dorm, and Kiki said she recorded audio. I've got recordings of all of it. I said it all in one breath, tapping my screen several times. Every recording, every screenshot, crystal clear. Everyone saw it, everyone heard it, and everyone said it. Zane was in my dorm that night. I looked up, and finally the tears fell. Officer Gu, I have no memory of what happened that night. I don't know how I lost consciousness, don't know when or how Zane came in, don't know what really happened that night. I have no recollection of any of it. My voice began to tremble, but every word rang clear and firm. Everyone saw it, but I don't remember any of it myself. Officer Gu, if that isn't date rape, what is? 9. Officer Gu glanced at me, didn't respond, and looked down to write a few lines in his notebook. I wiped away my tears and continued. Besides, until today, I had a boyfriend. I turned my head to look at Asher, who was sitting in the corner of the interrogation room. He hadn't said a word the entire time. His face was ashen, his lips pressed into a thin line. Asher, my boyfriend, we're in the same year at the same school, and we've been together for almost a year. Officer Gu, you can check the school's surveillance footage. Asher and I are together almost every day, coming and going from class, in the cafeteria, the classroom buildings, the library, everywhere you look, there we are. My voice grew calm as I spoke each word deliberately. I don't know when it started, but someone not even from our school, Zane, became my boyfriend. He's not even a student here. How did he get in? Who let him in? And who brought him into my dormitory in the middle of the night? I slowly turned my head and looked at Lilia on the other side of the interrogation room. Her face had already turned pale ever since I started playing the recording. Her lips had been trembling. Now, hearing these words, she abruptly lowered her head, eyes fixed on the tips of her shoes, not daring to utter a single word. Officer Gu, I request that the police file a case and investigate. My voice was quiet, but as steady as a nail driven into a wooden board. I will see this through to the end. The interrogation room fell silent for a few seconds. Officer Gu put down his pen, glanced at me, then at Lilia and Zane, before finally settling his gaze on Asher. You said you two are in a relationship. Did you know this Zane before? Asher opened his mouth, his voice dry. I knew him. He pursued Celeste, but she turned him down several times and never gave him the time of day. Then why did you curse at her in the hallway today? Officer Gu's tone was neutral. Asher's face flushed crimson, his lips quivered once or twice, but in the end, he said nothing. Officer Gu didn't press further. He turned his head and looked at Zane. You say you and Celeste were in a relationship for 2 months. Do you have any photos together? Chat logs? Where did you go on dates? Do you have her contact info on your phone? Beads of sweat began to form on Zane's forehead. We didn't chat much. We usually just met in person. You don't go to this school. How did you get into the women's dorm? Who let you in? What time? Which entrance did you use? Zane was completely speechless, his eyes darting around and his lips quivering for a long while before he finally managed to stammer. It was Lilia who opened the door for me. Lilia's head shut up, her face as pale as a sheet of paper. You're lying. I did not. Officer Gu glanced at the two of them and said unhurriedly, no need to rush. Just speak one by one. We've already pulled the surveillance footage from the women's dormitory building. The cameras clearly show who came in through which door at what time, and who opened the door. Lilia's face went from pale to ashen, and her hands began to tremble. Officer Gu turned to me, his tone somewhat gentler than before. I've noted everything you told me. Filing a case requires following procedures, and I'll give you an answer within today. I nodded, wiped the tears from my face with the back of my hand, stood up, and bowed deeply to Officer Gu. Then the office door was knocked on. A young officer pushed the door open, holding a craft paper envelope and a USB drive. Brother Gu, Principal Lee sent over the surveillance footage from the female dormitory building, from the beginning of the month until today. It's all here. 10. Lilia's shoulders gave a violent jolt. Officer Gu took the USB drive, plugged it into the computer, and opened the folder. Dozens of video files filled the screen, neatly arranged by date. Last Friday, right? He dragged the cursor and clicked on a file. The footage showed the fourth-floor hallway of the female dormitory. The timestamp read 1:58 a.m. The corridor was empty, save for the flickering green light of the emergency exit sign. Lilia stared at the screen, her lips trembling. Officer Gu adjusted the playback speed to normal. The timer jumped to 2:01 a.m. A figure appeared at the stairwell at the end of the hallway, a black hoodie, hands tucked in the pockets, with a casual, swaggering gait. Zane, he walked down the corridor without hesitation or glancing around, as if someone had told him exactly where to go. At 2:02, he stopped in front of room 403. The door was unlocked. He pushed it open and went inside. The corridor felt empty once more. I turned my head and looked at Lilia. Her face was completely drained of color, her eyes filled with terror, and she was curled up in the chair like a mouse with its tail trapped underfoot. "Do you want to keep watching?" Officer Gu's tone was neutral. No one answered. He dragged the progress bar. At 2:58, Zane came out of dorm 403. He walked quickly toward the stairwell, head down, and disappeared from the frame. The whole thing took less than an hour. Officer Gu turned off the video and spun around to face Lilia. "I'm done watching the footage. Now you tell me, who opened the door for him? Who let him in?" Lilia opened her mouth, but only a hoarse breath escaped her throat. No words came out. Her hands began to shake, then her forearms, and soon her whole body was trembling violently. "Like a leaf in a storm. I don't know." Her voice sounded like a chicken being choked. "I was asleep that day. I didn't see anything." "That's not what you said in the hallway just now," I said calmly. "You said you saw it with your own eyes. You said you watched Zane sneak out of my dorm. You sounded so sure. The whole school heard you." Lilia jerked her head up to look at me, her eyes completely bloodshot. "Celeste, what about me?" I tilted my head. "I'm just cooperating with the police investigation. Aren't you the one who loves to joke? Go on, tell one now." Lilia's lips quivered a few times, but she couldn't squeeze out a single word. Officer Gu turned to look at Zane. "Go on, who opened the door for you, and what exactly did you do inside the girls' dormitory?" 11. Zane's eyes darted around, sweat beading on his forehead, yet the corners of his mouth managed to force a smile. The kind of smile you give when you're staring death in the face but still trying to haggle. "Officer, I admit I went into the girls' dormitory, but I swear, I did not drug and rape her." He raised his right hand in a swearing gesture, his expression as sincere as if he were performing in a play. "That night, I went to see Lilia. She's my girlfriend, and we'd been together for a while. She left the door unlocked for me. I went straight to her bed. I never touched Celeste." After saying that, he let out a long breath, as if he had finally found a reasonable excuse, and sat up a little straighter. "Officer, I haven't broken the law, right? Sleeping with my own girlfriend isn't illegal, is it?" The office fell silent for a moment. All eyes instantly turned to Lilia. Lilia's face wasn't just pale, it was ashen. The color had completely drained from her lips, leaving her looking like a statue just dug out of an ice cellar. You're talking nonsense." Her voice cracked, rising sharply. "Who's your girlfriend?" "I have nothing to do with you." Zane was taken aback for a second, then grew anxious. "Lilia, are you really going back on your word? Just last month you said I was amazing, and I bought you that necklace." Shut up." Lilia shot to her feet, knocking her chair backward. It crashed to the floor with a loud clang. She was trembling all over, her eyes rimmed red, glaring at Zane as if she wanted to tear him apart, but not a single person in the office was on her side. The few students watching and giving statements, Tiffany, Runa, Hayden, now looked at Lilia with undisguised contempt, a far cry from their earlier attitude of being in cahoots with her. "So it was her own fault," Tiffany muttered, not finishing the sentence, but everyone understood. Runa lowered her head and edged half a step away, as if drawing a clear line between herself and Lilia. Hayden was even more direct, snorting, "After all that fuss, turns out she's the one who's been indiscreet, and she had the nerve to post online accusing others." Hearing these words, Lilia finally burst into tears, sobbing uncontrollably. It's not what you think. There's really nothing between Zane and me. He insisted on coming to see me. I told him that night not to come, but he just wouldn't listen." Yet her explanation sounded more like an admission. I said nothing, standing quietly and watching the whole drama unfold. When Lilia had almost cried herself out, I spoke, my voice soft, yet perfectly clear. "Zane, you just said you've never touched me. Then let me ask you, how did you know about the mole on my chest?" 12. Zane's pupils suddenly contracted. He opened his mouth, but his voice came out weak. I was guessing. A black mole the size of a soybean, right below your left collarbone, and you guessed that accurately. How come you've never won the lottery with that kind of luck?" Back in the hallway, he swore it in front of everyone. "She has a mole on her chest, right below her left collarbone. Ask her if you don't believe me." Trying to change his story now. Too late. Beads of sweat rolled down Zane's forehead and onto his cheeks, and his eyes began to dart away. Don't you think you owe me an explanation?" I looked at him calmly. "How does someone who only goes into the girls' dormitory looking for Lilia know that I have a mole on my chest?" In the office, everyone's gaze shifted back to Zane. He clenched his jaw and was silent for a few seconds. Then, as if suddenly making up his mind, he quickly pulled out his phone and swiped his finger Rapidly across the screen, Lilia told me. He raised his phone, screen facing outward, and showed it to everyone. It was a screenshot of a WeChat chat interface, Lilia's avatar, Lilia's name. In the chat history, Lilia had sent a photo. It was a picture of me, mid-change in the dorm, turned slightly away from the camera, but at just the right angle to reveal my left collarbone. Beneath it was a message. See that? She has a really obvious mole on her chest. Don't you like her? Here's something nice for you. The time was last Thursday, 11:40 p.m. The moment Lilia saw that screenshot, she lunged for the phone as if struck by lightning. You took a screenshot. You promised me you'd delete it. Zayn dodged back, nearly falling, and raised his voice. Why didn't you say anything when you filmed someone changing? Why didn't you say anything when you asked me to sleep with you? The two of them started tearing at each other like mad in the office. Officer Gu slammed his hand hard on the table. Enough. He stood up, his face ashen, his voice as deep and heavy as a muffled thunderclap, invading others' privacy by secretly filming, distributing obscene content, illegally entering the female dormitory, and suspected drugging and sexual assault. Neither of you is going anywhere. He turned to the young officer beside him, his tone crisp and decisive. File the case, both of them stay, and interrogate them separately. Lilia slumped on the ground, her face smeared with tears and snot, mechanically repeating just one sentence. I didn't mean it. I was just joking. I looked down at her, a slight smile tugging at the corner of my lips. Just kidding. That's what you said last time, right after I died. This time, let's see how you like the joke. 13. And when Zayn and Lilia were taken away, the handcuffs glinted under the light. Tiffany leaned against the wall and clutched her chest. That scared me to death. I thought we'd get dragged into it too. Runa nodded in agreement. Exactly. It was all Lilia's doing. What does any of that have to do with us? Hayden slipped his phone into his pocket and said casually, all right, the real culprit's been caught, let's head back. They turned to leave. Wait a minute. I stood in the police station lobby, my voice not loud, but everyone stopped. You can't leave just yet. Tiffany was taken aback. Celeste, what else is there? I'm pressing charges against you for rumor-mongering, defamation, cyberbullying, and school harassment. The air felt as if it had been sucked out of the room. Runa's face went pale. Sue us. We were deceived by Lilia too. Hayden grew anxious. We thought what she said was true. We didn't do it on purpose. I pulled out my phone and opened the forum comments section. Top student. More like top liar. Disgusting. Did Lilia tell you to say that too? They opened their mouths but no words came out. I looked up at them. If I hadn't called the police today, what would have happened to me? I'd be drowned in your slander. Expelled from school. And finally jump off the dorm roof. This isn't just spreading rumors, it's murder. Runa's tears fell, but no one refuted it. I turned to Officer Gu. Does what they did constitute a crime? Officer Gu closed his notebook, his gaze sweeping over the group of students in the hallway whose faces were as pale as paper. It does. Article 246 of the criminal law states that publicly insulting another person or fabricating facts to defame them, if the circumstances are serious, is punishable by up to 3 years in prison, by spreading false statements in public and online, insulting the victim's dignity, causing a severe decline in their social standing and serious emotional distress. You have committed the crimes of defamation and picking quarrels and provoking trouble. Tiffany's legs went weak, and she slumped against the wall, nearly sliding down. I didn't mean to. Officer Gu ignored her and turned to me. What are you asking for? I take a deep breath. First, all participants must post a pinned apology on the campus forum for 30 days, stating their full names and what they did. Second, compensate me for emotional distress, with amounts based on the severity of their actions. Third, face legal sanctions. If detention is warranted, then detention. If fines, then fines. If criminal records, then criminal records. A week later, the school's notice was posted on the bulletin board. Red text on a black background, impossible to ignore. Zayn, placed under criminal detention by public security authorities for unlawful intrusion into another's residence, distribution of obscene content, and attempted rape. The case has been transferred to the Procuratorate. Lilia, expelled from the university for secretly photographing others' privacy, distributing obscene content, defamation, and perjury. She also faces criminal prosecution. Tiffany received a serious warning and a major demerit, fined 5,000 yuan, and ordered to post a 30-day pinned apology. Runa, severe warning, fined 3,000 yuan, and required to post a pinned public apology for 30 days. Hayden, academic probation, fined 8,000 yuan, and required to post a pinned public apology for 30 days. The penalty is more severe due to the aggravated circumstances of taking and sharing photos. Kiki, warning, fined 2,000 yuan, and required to post a pinned public apology for 30 days. The other 21 involved students each received disciplinary actions, were fined, issued apologies, and had the infractions recorded in their files. Director Wang was removed from his post, expelled from the Communist Party, and dismissed from his position. The notice states, he abused his authority by publicly accusing students without any evidence, which constitutes a serious dereliction of duty. Apology letters are pouring in on the forum. No one feels the slightest sympathy for them. 14. When everything finally settled, Asher waited for me outside the teaching building for 3 days. The first day, he held a bouquet of red roses, the second, white lilies, and on the third, he brought nothing, standing in the wind like a crooked tree. Celeste, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have believed what they said, you shouldn't have believed what they said. I looked at him, my voice low but cold. You've known me for almost a year, we've had hundreds of meals together, walked home on countless nights, and exchanged thousands of messages. You should be the person in this world who knows me best, but Lilia said. She saw it with her own eyes, and you believed her. You didn't need proof, didn't need to ask me, didn't need to give me any chance to explain. You were ready to throw away everything we've built. Tears fell from Asher's eyes. Give me another chance. You know what? I interrupted, staring into his eyes. Lilia has been jealous of me since the first day of college. She was jealous when I got the scholarship, jealous when I became class president, and even more jealous when I got together with you. I paused. She likes you. Don't pretend you didn't know. Asher's lips quivered slightly, but he didn't speak. Are you really going to pretend you don't know she likes you? I repeated, my voice finally wavering. The way she looks at you, the way she talks about you in front of me, the expression on her face every time she sees us together. You don't notice any of it, or do you notice, and you just don't care? The wind swept in through the hallway, tousling his hair. She wants to destroy me, I said slowly. Each word deliberate. She wants to ruin my reputation, take everything from me, including you. Can't you see that? Or do you see it, and it just doesn't matter to you? Asher opened his mouth, his voice rasping as if forced from his throat. I really didn't know she liked me, didn't know. I laughed, my eyes burning red. She secretly took photos of me changing and sent them to Zane. She left the door open for Zane in the middle of the night. She posted rumors about me on the forum. She publicly slandered me in the hallway. Everything she did was to destroy me, and you sided with her, calling me a liar and trash in front of everyone. The knife you handed her yourself cut deeper than the one she wielded. Asher's tears finally fell, his body trembling as he sobbed. Celeste, I really am sorry. There's no future for us. I stepped back. Asher, after everything that's happened, do you really think you still deserve to be my boyfriend? He opened his mouth, but no. Words came out. I turned around and walked into the sunset. Behind me, he called my name, but I didn't look back. In my previous life, when I died, he was also downstairs, watching me jump from the rooftop, crying out my name, Celeste. In this life, I won't jump again, but when he calls my name, I still won't look back. For some people, missing someone once means missing them for a lifetime. The end. Story 2. At 3 a.m., I groggily saw the door being opened, peeking through half-closed eyes. I spotted a man entering the room, trembling with fear. I clutched my son tightly and hid under the covers while contacting the property management. 10 minutes later, when security arrived, I discovered the intruder was actually my male neighbor. The homeowner's wife knelt on the ground, weeping as she pleaded. We had a fight late at night. He was drunk. That's the only reason he climbed over the balcony. He meant no harm. He just needed a place to sleep for the night. We're all neighbors. Please, just let it go. I just moved here not long ago, raising my child alone. I didn't want to cause trouble, so in a moment of soft-heartedness, I didn't call the police and instead let it slide. That very night, the male homeowner's wife started spreading vicious rumors about me in the group chat. Where there's smoke, there's fire. They were lying together in the middle of the night. You can all imagine the rest. She seduced my husband and now plays the victim. Anyone can pull that poor little me. That son of hers is probably a bastard. No wonder she got dumped. After that, my son became ostracized and bullied around the neighborhood. One day, in a daze, I walked up to the rooftop, missed my step, fell, and died. The male homeowner barged into my home again under the guise of apologizing and comforting me, tormenting me for 3 whole days and nights, unable to bear the torment. I lured his wife over and set a fire, taking us all down together. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the day my neighbor climbed over the balcony into my home. A rustling sound jolted me awake. My 3-year-old son Milo was sleeping soundly against my chest, his tiny hand clutching my pajamas. Had I been reborn? One moment I was engulfed in the scorching heat of the fire. The next I found myself lying in my familiar bed. I glanced furtively toward the bedroom door as a shadowy figure crept inside. I realized I had been reborn on the very day my spectral neighbor Gideon broke into my home. My heart began hammering wildly, as if trying to burst from my chest, just like in my previous life. Gideon first slunk over to the window and peered down furtively, then he went into the master bathroom. Though I couldn't tell what he was looking at while he was in the bathroom, I quickly grabbed my phone from under the pillow. After switching it to silent mode, I sent a few messages to the property management. Someone has broken into my apartment, Unit 2301, 23rd floor, Building B. Please help. He's in my bedroom right now. I'm here with my 3-year-old. This is extremely dangerous. Following an online tip, I simultaneously sent an emergency text to the local police station. Intruder breaking into residence. Address, Unit 2301, 23rd floor, Building B, Emerald Lake Community. Situation critical. The property management responded to my message almost immediately, reassured. I quietly placed my phone back and continued feigning sleep. 01. The property management will be here in 10 minutes. Tops, then I can make my escape and change the outcome. Milo won't die, and I won't have to endure those nightmarish ordeals. Everything will be different. But just then, Gideon suddenly sat down on my bed, my heart skipped a beat, and my fingers began trembling uncontrollably. He never did this in my previous life. Last time, he just walked around the room before the property management found him. Why is this time different? I've missed you so much, Gideon whispered abruptly, his voice tinged with a chilling excitement. I almost opened my eyes. What is he talking about? I didn't get to have enough fun in my last life, he continued, his voice growing increasingly excited. My previous life, what the— Before I could process what was happening, a pair of disgusting large hands reached under the covers. Every hair on my body stood on end. He started lifting my shirt, his hands slowly creeping upward. Visions of the torment he put me through in my past life began flashing through my mind. 3 days. And nights of nightmares, his revolting face, the unspeakable atrocities he committed against me. I couldn't help but roll over while holding Milo, trying to scare him away, but instead of being intimidated, he actually started prying my fingers open one by one, trying to take Milo away from me. How I wanted to scream at him to get the hell out, yet I clenched my jaw and forced myself to keep pretending to be asleep. After all, I knew exactly what kind of person he was. He's not only skilled at manipulating public opinion, but also exhibits extreme psychopathic tendencies. If I resist now, both Milo and I will be in even greater danger. Just as I was wrestling with my thoughts, Milo stirred and murmured, "Mommy, Mommy, is anyone there?" Milo rubbed his eyes, tiny hands groping in the darkness. Milo's scared. Milo's eyes widened as he took in the strange man by his bedside, and he let out a heart-wrenching scream. "Mommy, I'm scared." Gideon froze for a moment, a flicker of panic crossing his face. He quickly reached out and clamped his large hand over Milo's mouth. "Don't scream." Seeing this, I couldn't keep up the act any longer. I scrambled to my feet and yanked Milo back from his grasp with all my strength. I dashed to the wall and flicked on the bedroom light with a sharp click. The harsh light made Gideon squint. Feigning shock, I shrieked, "Mr. Gideon, how did you get in? Get out of my house this instant." He rubbed his eyes, then flashed a roguish grin. "Well, would you look at that? I must have gotten the wrong house. Don't be nervous, I came to the wrong room. Let me apologize." "All right." As he spoke, not only did he show no intention of leaving, but he actually took a few steps closer to the doorway. He was trying to block my escape route, holding the crying Milo. I leaned back and tried to sound calm. "Since you're in the wrong room, please leave now." Gideon ran his fingers through his hair and muttered under his breath, "Just as I thought. No consequences. As usual, I didn't mean to startle you," he said as he slowly approached me. "Give me a chance to apologize. We're neighbors, we'll be seeing each other all the time." The closer he got, the more terrified Milo became, crying uncontrollably. I started to lose my composure too, instinctively glancing up at the clock on the wall. "Just 5 more minutes, hang in there for 5 more minutes and it'll be over." How could this happen? A thought flashed through my mind, and I quickly yelled at him. "Mr. Gideon, aren't you worried your wife will be concerned if you keep going to the wrong house like this? It's already very late, you should head back now." The moment he heard the word wife, he immediately stopped in his tracks, but the next moment, his expression turned even more sinister. "My wife? She's playing poker tonight." He licked his lips. "Do you know how to play poker? How about I teach you? Just the 2 of us." I was utterly bewildered. If he was truly reborn, he should know the property management would arrive soon, so why was he still acting like this? Just then, my phone vibrated. I glanced at the screen and was shocked to see a reply from the property management. "Miss Irene, your husband just came to us. He said you're under too much stress and filed a false report. Please don't joke about things like this in the future. We're very busy." My blood ran cold. So, Gideon had already impersonated my husband to recall the property management. Noticing my unease, he smirked triumphantly. "Don't be scared. I just thought, since you're a single mother new to the neighborhood, I'd come lend a hand." Forcing composure, I replied with faint calm, "That won't be necessary, Mr. Gideon. It just occurred to me that my boyfriend will be arriving shortly. You should leave." "Boyfriend?" He looked down at me. "Since when do you have a boyfriend?" "I was certain you didn't." I waved my phone and said, "Well, There's this cute guy from the local police station who's been pursuing me for ages. I just saw his confession when I picked up my phone and ended up saying yes. Could he have been reborn too? If you don't mind, I'll introduce you when he gets here. At the mention of police station, Gideon's expression shifted slightly, but he quickly composed himself, furrowed his brow, and then burst out laughing. Don't give me that. What? I looked at him in surprise. Mr. Gideon, why on earth would I lie to you? He bared his yellowed teeth, his grin growing more unsettling. You're just afraid I might do something to you, aren't you? Oh, come on, why are you so paranoid? When you're out and about, you shouldn't assume the worst in people. I know, he said, enunciating each word deliberately. You don't have a boyfriend, I retorted urgently, but I just agreed to it moments ago. Just because I didn't have one before doesn't mean I don't have one now. Yet the more flustered I appeared, the calmer Gideon became. No need to rush, he said, gesturing toward Milo. Don't let the fact that my wife and I don't have kids fool you. I'm actually great with children. Before I could even react, he snatched Milo right out of my arms. My heart nearly stopped. Holding Milo, he frowned and said, "Don't cry. I'm not a bad guy. What are you doing? Let go of my son," I yelled frantically, lunging forward to grab my child back, but he ignored me and turned toward the bathroom. I heard a sharp click. He had actually locked Milo inside the bathroom. Milo! I rushed to the door like a madwoman, pounding on it. Don't be scared, Milo, Mommy's here. The child's heart-wrenching sobs came from behind the door. I shoved him without thinking. Mr. Gideon, this is my house. Get out right now. Get out now, or I'm calling the police. He gave a lecherous grin, his eyes fixed intently on the buttons of my nightgown. Instinctively, I moved to cover my chest, but it was already too late. He shoved me backward onto the bed. I've had too much to drink. Miss Irene, you look just like my wife. The terror from my past life came rushing back, that same despair and helplessness swallowing me whole in an instant. I frantically groped for anything on the bedside table, hurling whatever I could grab at him. Stay away, get out, but he completely ignored my resistance. If anything, my screams seemed to excite him even more. Stop pretending. A dangerous glint flashed in his eyes. You've been a widow for so long, you must be lonely by now. 02. He advanced toward me while grabbing my nightgown. In our past life, you could never get enough of me. If you don't remember, I'll help refresh your memory. I struggled desperately, using all my strength to push him away. How could a woman's strength ever match that of a grown man? His hands grew increasingly bold, and I felt myself on the verge of suffocation. Just then, the sound of a property card beeping to unlock the door came from outside. The next second, the door was flung open violently. Several uniformed police officers burst in with a panicked property manager, shouting, "Let her go." Gideon was startled by the sudden turn of events, then scrambled off me in a panic. His face instantly turned pale, the arrogant expression from moments ago completely vanishing. I breathed a sigh of relief, then immediately got up from the bed and rushed to the bathroom without bothering to straighten my disheveled clothes. Milo's face was flushed red from crying. The moment he saw me, he rushed over and threw himself into my arms, crying, "Mommy." The property manager looked at me in a panic and said, "But your husband said everything was fine. Why did you still call the police?" I quickly held Milo and hid behind the police officer, exclaiming, "I don't have a husband. My husband is dead. I only have my son." The property manager stammered, "But we received a call, and the person said he was your husband." I pointed at Gideon and said, "Think about it. Doesn't that voice sound like Mr. Gideon's?" The property manager finally took a good look at Gideon standing off to the side. "Aren't you Mr. Gideon, the property manager from next door? What are you doing here?" Gideon stared at me, his face a mask of panic and disbelief. In my previous life, I had indeed only notified the property management, so Gideon had no idea that I had also called the police this time. He muttered belatedly to himself, How could you have called the police?" "Impossible." A female officer looked sternly at Gideon and asked, "Who are you? What were you just doing to this lady?" "No, that's not it." Gideon panicked. "Officer, I swear I just went to the wrong room. I had too much to drink and got the wrong door." I stared at him coldly. "Got the wrong door, but if I remember correctly, the lock on my front door hasn't been tampered with. How did you get in?" The officer walked into the living room and looked around, then turned a wary gaze toward him. "The signs indicate someone climbed in through the balcony. This complex has 2 units per floor, and the living room balconies are indeed positioned quite close to each other." Gideon suddenly changed his story. "Well, actually I had a fight with my wife. I'd had too much to drink and had nowhere else to go. You know how it is with us men. We've got our pride to think about." The policewoman finally cut him off. "So you hide from your wife at someone else's place, and then you lock their child in the bathroom. What was that about? And what were you trying to accomplish by tearing someone's clothes Apart, Gideon gave a sheepish grin. I had too much to drink and mistook you for someone else. All right, this is how I always act when I'm drunk. Even my wife knows that. No sooner had the words been spoken than the rapid click of high heels echoed from outside. Gideon's wife Zena rushed to the scene. After the policewoman explained the situation, Zena froze in disbelief. Moments later, she dropped to her knees before me. Miss Irene, you've got it all wrong. We were having a fight late at night. He'd had too much to drink and climbed over from our living room balcony. He truly meant no harm. We've been married for 7 years. Everyone in this neighborhood knows how devoted we are to each other. Besides, I have better looks and figure than you. Why would he even look elsewhere? When I remained silent, her sobs intensified. He just needed a place to sleep for the night. Miss Irene, please forgive him. This was exactly the same story she'd told in my previous life. Gideon remained silent, his gaze fixed intently on me. That stare sent chills down my spine. He was waiting for my reaction. After all, in my past life, I had forgiven him under similar emotional manipulation, but this time, I won't be so soft-hearted. I gave her a long, hard look, then turned to the police. Mr. Gideon just tried to assault me. I won't settle this privately. Please take him away. Hearing this, Gideon completely panicked. Irene, his voice cracked with desperation. How could you call the police and have me arrested? You were supposed to forgive me. Why should I forgive you? My voice was icy. You almost assaulted me. You almost destroyed my life. Why on earth should I forgive you? If you can't control your urges, then you belong behind bars to reflect on your actions. Zena's face instantly turned pale. She kowtowed to me several more times, pleading, Miss Irene, my husband is the head of our household, the sole breadwinner of our family. Arresting him over your false accusation would be no different from destroying my entire family. Sobbing uncontrollably, she pleaded, just name your price, whatever compensation you demand, I'll pay it all. I swear this will never happen again. After a moment's thought, the property manager chimed in. Spreading this incident would tarnish our community's reputation. We're all neighbors here. We ought to support each other. He glanced at me and said, you're not hurt anyway. Why don't we just drop it, if we can settle this amicably? The property management can apply to install a security grill on your balcony for free. How does that sound? Looking at the property manager's smug face, I felt sick to my stomach. Didn't they all gang up to convince me to let it go in my previous life too? Later, Milo was bullied and fell to his death from the rooftop in a daze, yet they still told me to let it go. I took a deep breath, held Milo tight, and said, I can't let this go. 03, officer, please file this as attempted rape. Zena stared at me wide-eyed, unable to believe what she was hearing. Miss Irene, you can't do this. Gideon turned ashen, too terrified to utter a single word. The officer nodded at me. Understood. We'll handle this according to the law. After the police took Gideon away, Zena shot me a resentful glare. So you're Irene. You're awfully full of yourself, thinking every man is out to get you. What's wrong? Getting lonely playing the grieving widow. If you're feeling restless, go find your own distraction. Why are you eyeing someone else's husband? She just never learns. But I wasn't about to go easy on her either. What's with this first wife syndrome? You see every other woman as a mistress, don't you? Someone like Gideon, he's not even my type. After kicking her out, I hastily packed a few changes of clothes and moved into a hotel with Milo for the time being until this matter is resolved. I must ensure both Milo's and my own safety. After finally getting Milo settled back to sleep, I collapsed onto the bed, completely drained. It was a mix of terror and relief. That evening, the residents' group chat exploded. Did you see that? There were 2 police cars parked downstairs just now. Yeah. The guy from Unit B, 23rd floor, got arrested. I live right below them. Just got the tea. Apparently the guy climbed through someone's balcony in the middle of the night and tried to assault them. Seriously. That's terrifying. Is this neighborhood even safe to live in anymore? Ugh. He always seemed so normal, but turns out he's a total creep. Thank God the girl from Unit 2031 called the police, or who knows what could have happened. The next second, Zena started raging in the group chat. How dare anyone spread rumors about my husband? I'll have my lawyer send you a cease and desist letter. My husband is a model citizen. There's no way he'd climb over a balcony to do something like that. Besides, where there's smoke, there's fire. If she hadn't been willing, would they have ended up in bed together in the middle of the night? You can connect the dots. That slut Irene seduced my man and now she's playing the victim. She's just putting on an act. Anyone can do that. That son of hers is probably a bastard. No wonder she got divorced. I never expected that even after Gideon was arrested in this lifetime, she'd still try to smear my reputation like this. But this time, I wasn't going to be caught off guard like before and let her spout nonsense unchecked. Keeping my composure, I immediately posted my late husband's identification documents and cremation certificate in the group chat. My husband was a traffic officer. He died after being hit by a car while saving a little girl. Miss Zena, how can you slander the wife and child of a traffic officer who died in the line of duty without feeling any guilt? As soon as this was said, everyone in the group started at ing Zena and cursing her out. Oh my God, I saw this news story. I had no idea it was Miss Irene's husband. She's a Widow, not divorced. Do you have a sewer for a mouth? Spouting nonsense without thinking. Don't you know what your own husband is really like, and you call him a model husband? You've got to be kidding me. What kind of model husband climbs through a window in the dead of night to break into a widow's home and crawl into her bed, threatening with a lawyer's letter? Sounds like you're the one who needs it more. Don't worry, Miss Irene, I've screenshotted everything she said in this group. I'm a lawyer, and I can help you. Hearing this, Zena immediately fell silent. She was quickly removed from the group by the administrator. Early the next morning, Irene received a call from the police. MS Irene, we have an update regarding last night's case. The voice on the other end of the line was calm, but my heart was in my throat. He went on. Gideon was indeed intoxicated, with a blood alcohol level over the legal limit in this situation. If we charge him with attempted rape, the sentence won't be very severe. Sure enough, he hadn't just been reborn, he'd also made thorough preparations to evade justice. I just moved in, so there are no surveillance cameras in the room, which means I can't fully verify what exactly happened last night, so there's really nothing I can do to him. I took a deep breath and said, Officer, I'm begging you, please do everything you can to make sure Gideon gets locked up. His actions last night already constitute breaking and entering an assault. He shouldn't get a lighter sentence just because he was drunk. The voice on the other end replied in a professional tone, We'll do our best, you have my word. After hanging up, I let out a resigned sigh and glanced over at Milo, who was still fast asleep. Just then, my WeChat notification chimed. A contact request popped up from an unfamiliar profile picture. Hello MS Irene, I'm Alicia from Unit 1902, Tower A. I work as a lawyer. I accepted the friend request. If you ever need assistance, I'd be happy to help pro bono. In that moment, I suddenly realized I wasn't facing this alone anymore. The neighbors who stood up for me in the group chat last night, and now Alicia reaching out to me on her own accord. It all brought me a warmth I hadn't felt in so long. I politely thanked her. Thank you, Attorney Alicia. I will definitely reach out if I truly need assistance. But it wasn't long before Alicia's WeChat call came through. MS Irene, it's urgent, she said, her voice tinged with panic. Zena is going to jump off the building. I froze. Jumping off a building, what is she doing? Alicia's voice on the other end of the line was indignant. She's on the rooftop, threatening to jump while live streaming, trying to force you to drop the charges and forgive her. That woman is absolutely despicable. I quickly asked Alicia to send me the live stream link. The video opens with Zena perched on the rooftop edge, tearfully pleading to the camera with glistening eyes. Sobbing uncontrollably, she choked out, What did my husband even do wrong? He was just drunk with nowhere to go, so he went to the neighbor's place for convenience, thought he could crash there for one night. That's all there was to it. But as luck would have it, the neighbors were a widow and her child. They called the police and had my husband arrested right away. Now the whole internet is calling my husband a pervert. Our family's reputation is completely ruined. She selectively edited last night's neighborhood chat records, only showing a few things I'd said. Then she continued, It's true her husband died in the line of duty, but that doesn't mean everyone should blindly take her side. If that's the case, should children of martyrs also be allowed to slander people freely and escape legal consequences? I believe my husband was taken away largely because of who her husband is. The live stream was flooded with clueless netizens, and the comments section exploded instantly. Ugh, she's not even that good looking, yet she fantasizes about men falling for her every single day. Is zero for her. Sure, her husband is a decent man, but what does that have to do with her? If you're so concerned about safety, why not install security grills on the balcony? You can't have it both ways. What's the point of this hypocrisy? Now you've landed the head of the household in jail and driven him to jump off a building. Are you satisfied now? She's the classic green tea type, playing the victim to gain sympathy. Reading these venomous comments, I took a deep breath. That's Zena's signature move. She's a master at twisting the narrative and playing the victim. Even Alicia let out a bitter laugh. That Zena is just shamelessly lying through her teeth. Any decent person in this situation would be falling over themselves to apologize to the victim, but not her. Her husband's the one at fault, yet somehow it's all your mistake now. Birds of a feather really do flock together. Indeed, I've long been aware of her ability to manipulate public opinion. Just then, several new messages popped up on my phone. With just a glance, I exclaimed excitedly, Don't worry, I've found a solution. After hanging up, I opened the residence group chat and took a screenshot of the entire conversation history. Then I went through my late husband's work records. I also found news reports about how he saved that little girl, along with footage from his memorial service. After organizing these materials, I opened the live streaming app and said, Hello everyone, I'm Irene. The moment I went live, viewers started pouring in. I said calmly to the camera, Someone just told me there's a woman live streaming her suicide attempt, claiming I slandered her husband. The chat instantly erupted with mixed reactions. It's you. Go save her. She's about to jump and you're still streaming. How heartless. But there were also voices supporting me. Wait, let's hear what she has to say first. Yeah. What's the real story here? I ignored the malicious comments and instead directly showed my husband's police badge and line of duty death certificate. I held each document up to the camera one by one. This is my husband's police badge, and this is his line of duty death certificate. 3 years ago, he was killed by a truck that ran a red light while saving a little girl crossing the street. Then I played the news footage from that year. This is the actual news report from that day. My husband Yora is a first-class traffic officer in the city. On his way home from work that day, he saw a little girl crying in the middle of the road. He rushed over to push her to safety, but ended up getting hit by the car himself. The live stream fell into a sudden silence. I continued, I'm not sharing my husband's story to make myself look good or to gain your trust. I just want everyone to know that my husband isn't afraid to die, and neither am I. With trembling voice, I recounted last night's events. Gideon climbed onto my balcony, locked my 3-year-old in the bathroom, then got into my bed and tried to assault me. The live chat exploded with comments, but they say you have no evidence. Someone barges into your house uninvited. That's trespassing at most, but you're insisting it's a personal violation. That's quite an accusation. Exactly. If you're going to make such claims, you'd better have proof. I let out a cold laugh. Who says I don't have evidence? I glanced at Jean Zena on the live stream. She had clearly seen something on the screen and was starting to panic. I enunciated each word clearly. Not only do I have evidence, I can make sure Gideon rots in prison for good. Zena was so startled she dropped her phone. She then stumbled to shut down the livestream. I wasn't surprised. People like Zena are experts at playing the victim to gain sympathy. She'd never actually go through with killing herself. At the unanimous request of netizens, I've released a video. In the footage, Gideon first sneaks from his balcony to mine, then proceeds to down 2 bottles of Baijiu while standing on my balcony. He then tiptoes through the living room and slips into my room. Then everything went pitch black, though I couldn't see clearly. I explained at the same time. After he sneaked into my room, he started sitting on my bed and touching me. I hadn't turned on the light here, so it was too dark to see. Soon, the video lit up. You could see me holding Milo, standing behind the windowsill with a panicked look on my face. Then came the scene where Gideon snatched my son away, then forced me onto the bed and tried to assault me. Finally, the police arrived. The entire incident was captured on camera with perfect clarity. Public opinion flipped in an instant, so he broke in through the balcony to get the alcohol. That means his story about being drunk and climbing over for shelter was a complete lie. My God, he targeted a 3-year-old. The man's a total predator. Where are those people who were accusing others of slandering a rapist? Get out here and apologize right now. This is clearly attempted rape. Thank goodness the police arrived in time, otherwise not only would the victim be ruined, but that child would be scarred for life. Seeing this public reaction, I closed the live stream with satisfaction. I then made a copy of the video and sent it to the police handling the case. After doing all this, I made a phone call and said gratefully, Miss Isolde, thank you for providing the video. I truly can't thank you enough. Isolde said gently, it just occurred to me that my balcony has a security camera, and as luck would have it, it's pointed directly at your apartment. I'm so glad the footage was able to help you. It also helped that before leaving last night, the officer reminded me, Miss Irene, without surveillance at your place, it's difficult to reconstruct what actually happened, so I took the initiative and immediately contacted the neighbors above and below, as well as the owner of the apartment across the hall in Building A. I hope they can give me some useful information. Sure enough, after receiving the video, the police quickly re-interrogated Gideon. Due to the needs of the case, I was also summoned to the police station. When Gideon saw me, he roared, Irene, how could you call the police? How did you know to look for evidence? You're clearly just a sniveling widow who does nothing but cry. Something's off about you. Have you been reborn too? Reborn? I shrugged and took 2 deliberate steps back, feigning fear. I have no idea what you're talking about. He glared at me, about to speak again, when the police officer cut him off. Miss Irene has substantial evidence now. You can either plead guilty or file an appeal. Zena rushed up from behind me. Don't confess, honey, you can't. If you confess and go to prison, what am I supposed to do? I sneered. You're just worried about Gideon's cushy job, aren't you? She froze, and I continued. Do you really think netizens are fools, after the disgusting things he's done? Who would let him off the hook? All his personal information has already been dug up and exposed online. Team leader, I got that right, didn't I? 05. Gideon stared at me in horror. That video is fake. It's AI generated. The room fell silent in an instant. Zena kept nodding emphatically. Exactly. It's AI. Irene is just jealous of our happy marriage and successful careers. That's why she's slandering my husband, the officer said coldly. The video has been authenticated. It's real. Stop making excuses. I stared fixedly at Gideon. Team leader, your department has received the whistleblowing letter about you. You're finished hearing this. He stepped forward and grabbed me by the throat. That's not how it was. In our previous life, you weren't like this. In our past life, you forgave me. You had a change of heart. Irene, if only you'd forgive me. I'd treat you right. I'd cherish you. I'd love you. But why won't you forgive me? What? Zena stared at him in disbelief. Darling, what are you saying? But Gideon seemed to have gone mad, his grip tightening even more. Several officers rushed to intervene, only to be shoved aside by him. With a twisted expression, he continued to roar, Irene, I've liked you from the day you moved in. It's all your fault. Dressing so provocatively, you were clearly trying to seduce me. You led me on, and now you act all high and mighty. How dare you? He was choking me so hard I could barely breathe, but I managed to smile and whispered in his ear, how does it feel? Being crushed by public opinion must be so delightful, right? He instantly released me. I knew it. You've been reborn too, you bitch. Once Xena realized what he was implying, she was so furious she slapped him. Gideon, after your accident, I couldn't sleep for days, pulling strings and running around trying to help you, and then you have the nerve to tell me you've fallen for Irene. You bastard, I'm going to beat you to a pulp, the two of them got into a scuffle right at the police station, and it took the officers several minutes to finally pull them apart. In the end, Gideon admitted that he had broken into my home with the intent to assault me, and he was sentenced directly to 6 years in prison. The incident spread like wildfire, and his workplace soon publicly announced his termination. Once things settled down, I quickly moved out with my son. I later heard from Alicia and Isolde that Xena had become the neighborhood pariah. Despised by everyone. One afternoon, in a daze, she wandered up to the rooftop, lost her footing, fell, and died on the spot. When I heard the news, I was lost in thought, watching my son on the swing. From now on, I will make sure to have a good relationship with my son. Story 2. A torrential downpour began, and someone in the homeowners group suddenly sent a message. I come from the year 2026, and this rain has never stopped. The apocalypse is upon us. You all better start stockpiling for survival. Everyone thought it was a joke. No one believed it, but then he said, today in apartment 1203 there will be a murder. The female owner will be thrown down from upstairs by her boyfriend, and I live in 1203-01 outside the house. The wind and rain were ferocious, and the raindrops pelted the windows with a constant tapping sound. I was lying on the sofa with a cup of hot milk, scrolling through my phone, when I saw someone had posted a message in the homeowners group, neighbors, I come from the year 2026, and this heavy rain has never stopped. The apocalypse has arrived. Hurry up and stockpile for survival. The group was quiet for a moment, then suddenly became lively. 303, crazy, 702, wow, neighbor from the future, can you tell me tomorrow's lottery numbers? Wish you a safe life. 701, the person above, transfer me 10,000 and I'll tell you, I actually come from 2025. And I remember more details than him. Such an outrageous claim. Of course, no one believed it, and the homeowners jokingly made a mess of it, but the person wasn't discouraged and posted several long messages. June, in the next 2 years, most parts of the country will be submerged. We are in Kunming, which is at a higher altitude, especially our neighborhood on the north side of Kunming, which is even safer. You only need to stockpile enough supplies and wait for the government's large search and rescue boats to arrive, and you can survive the apocalypse. June, please go out and buy supplies as soon as possible, and prepare enough food and medicine. Tonight after 7 o'clock, the rainfall will increase, turning from heavy rain to torrential rain, and it will continue for 2 whole months, making it very inconvenient to go outside then. In June, in the future, this kind of torrential rain typically lasts 2 months, turning into light rain for another month. You must take advantage of this time. Next, this person named June posted a long list of essential supplies, including various household items and plastic pots for planting vegetables. I showed the chat history to my boyfriend with a laugh. Look at this person, he must be crazy. Benjamin, who was on the phone with someone, glanced at the phone screen casually and laughed. It must be the owner of the supermarket at the door. He sells fake goods all day long, and his business is dying. Now, this trick he thought of, what a marketing genius. Many homeowners thought the same, and some even tagged the supermarket owner directly in the group. Charles, you dropped your cover. Hualien Supermarket. What cover? It wasn't me. Why would I do that? Hualien Supermarket. I tell you this, comrade June, if you want to help me sell goods, at least make up a better excuse. You say the rain will increase after 7 o'clock, but it's already 6:50, and the rain has stopped outside. My wife is changing her shoes ready to go out dancing. I walked to the window and saw only a layer of white mist on the glass, unlike before when droplets rolled down forming a line. I shook my head, smiling, and opened the window. Indeed, the rain had stopped, and people were heading out downstairs, walking in pairs and groups on the path without umbrellas. 02, I don't know what this person was aiming for, sending so many texts just for a lie that would be exposed in 10 minutes. He must be really idle. I didn't look at the group messages anymore, leaning on the window and watching TikTok, watching a muscular man dance the edge dance, when suddenly a loud boom sounded, a bolt of thunder struck, and the sky suddenly lit up. I shivered, holding my phone tightly. It seemed as though a massive hole had opened up in the sky, a fierce storm unleashed, with heavy rain pouring down endlessly, striking the window glass and splashing like countless arrows. Frantically, I grabbed the handle and forcefully shut the window. In those few seconds, My hair was completely drenched and a small puddle had formed on the floor by the window. Trembling, I picked up my phone and saw it was exactly 7:00 p.m. June was right after all. I opened our WeChat group, and the residents were in an uproar. It's really pouring. Oh my god, could it actually be some sort of apocalyptic event? Everyone, don't panic. Maybe he works at the Meteorological Bureau and is in cahoots with the supermarket owner to clear out stock, but the forecast only said it would be cloudy. When has the Weather Bureau ever been so precise, down to the exact minute? The supermarket owner, not to be outdone, lashed out. Blossom Supermarket, clearing stock. My foot. Does my store look like it's desperate for inventory? Hey June, can you predict something else to prove yourself? If you get one more thing right, I'll close the store and keep the goods for personal use. June, it's practically the end of the world. Things are a mess. You wouldn't believe me even if I told you. June, wait, I just remembered something. Tonight, there will be a murder in our complex. It'll even make the news. June, a woman in Building 3, apartment 1203, will be thrown out of the window by her boyfriend and die instantly. I froze, heart skipping a beat. Building 3, apartment 1203, isn't that my place? Alara, you've been zoned out for ages. What's the matter? My vision was suddenly obscured as a towel was thrown over my head, and Benjamin handed me a mug of hot milk. Be careful not to catch a cold. Drink up the milk, and go take a shower. You look like a drowned rat. That rain was intense. Okay, I took the milk, avoiding Benjamin's gaze, and hurried to the bathroom, placing the cup carelessly on the sink. Could Benjamin kill me? That seemed impossible. We had been together for 3 years with hardly any arguments. Even my best friend says Benjamin is the most emotionally stable man she has ever met. How could he be a murderer? My hand shook as I held my phone, and the shock was evident among the residents in the group chat. A murder? Is this for real? You can't just make up stuff like that. 1202, hey, the girl in 1203 doesn't have a boyfriend, right? I live next door and she seems like a recluse. I've never seen any man visit her place. It suddenly dawned on me, right? Others might not know about Benjamin. I had only moved into this complex 3 months ago and hadn't really interacted with the other residents. Benjamin, due to his work, often traveled and worked late into the night. He had only visited me a few times, and our next door neighbors hadn't even seen him. How did June know this? June, she has a boyfriend. June, I can't remember the details, but it seems her boyfriend added sleeping pills to her milk and threw her out while she was asleep. Initially, it was made to look like a suicide, and the fingerprints were wiped clean. June, it took the police several days to uncover the truth. I heard that the woman was a rich heiress and her boyfriend had serious gambling issues. As I sipped my milk, scrolling through the chat, I saw this message. Startled, my hand loosened and the cup fell to the floor with a crisp sound. Benjamin came in through the door and sighed helplessly upon seeing me in that state. Why are you so agitated? Go take a shower first, and I'll warm up another cup for you. My voice trembled as I stared at Benjamin's face. Don't bother. I don't want it anymore. How can that be? Drinking a cup of milk before bed helps with sleep. Just do as I say. Benjamin tapped my head and went out to clean up the broken pieces of the cup. As soon as he left, I rushed to the bathroom and locked the door. Leaning against the door, I breathed rapidly, my heart pounding loudly. I am not a rich second-generation heir, but recently, I made a fortune trading options. No one in the world knew, except for Benjamin. The day I closed out my positions, I bought him a pair of sneakers he had been wanting. He had laughed and asked if I had struck it rich, to which I jokingly replied, I'm a hidden rich second-gen, but you didn't guess that. My phone vibrated frantically with messages from neighbors in the group chat. 1203, are you there? Are you really a rich second generation? Say something. He can't be, right? Would a rich second gen still rent a place? Are you seeing the messages? Be careful with your boyfriend. Maybe she's already been harmed by her boyfriend. 1202, go check on her. If her boyfriend is about to make a move, we might save a life. It's the end of the world. Who cares about lives anymore? You guys chat. I'm heading downtown to buy supplies. With this rain, we might not be able to go out tomorrow. Raindrops pelted the window, creating a noisy and unsettling racket. I pressed against the glass and looked outside, indeed seeing several cars leaving the underground parking lot, gradually exiting the community gate. If what June said was true, not only did I need to find a way to survive Benjamin's clutches, but I also needed to hurry out to buy supplies. As I panicked, 1202 sent me a private message. 1203, are you home? Open the door. I'll come over and check on the situation. 1202 lived with his wife and a young boy. The husband, a tall man in his early 40s, would go out to play basketball every morning and was always kind to me. Benjamin, with his slight build, probably wasn't a match for him. Feeling somewhat relieved, I quickly dried my hair and replied to his message, my boyfriend and I are home. You can come over. I changed into my pajamas and went to open the door. 1202 stood at the doorway holding a baseball bat, looking vigilant. Benjamin, came out of the kitchen with a cup of milk, asking confusedly, "Who are you?" Seeing the cup of milk, 1202's eyes narrowed sharply. I gave him a look, and he nodded, squeezing out a small smile. "I'm from next door, 1202. My wife is making dumplings. Do you have any vinegar?" "Yes. Come on in, I'll pour you some." I signaled for 1202 to follow me to the kitchen, his grip tightening on the baseball bat as he surveyed our apartment. "Why have I never seen your boyfriend? He often works overtime and comes home late." I pretended to be calm while pouring vinegar, but my mind was already a mess, to be honest. Even now, I don't fully believe June's words. The idea of time travel and apocalypse sounds too far-fetched, like something out of a novel, but if it's not true, why does he know so much about my situation? 1202 lowered his voice. "I have an idea. First, call your boyfriend to go shopping for supplies with me, and you stay home and call the police. When he comes back, let the police question him. Even if he didn't commit murder, gambling is still illegal, right?" A light bulb went off in my head. I didn't expect it, but 1202, despite looking rough, had a sharp mind. This plan was indeed good. It would give me time to buy supplies, probe Benjamin, and ensure my own safety. A three birds with one stone situation. I raised my voice. "Really? Heavy rain next month, Benjamin. Uncle Carter said he just received a weather disaster warning. Why don't you drive and stock up on some things for the house? With this kind of heavy rain continuing for several more days, we won't be able to leave the house." Benjamin was watching TV and didn't even turn his head. When has the weather forecast ever been accurate? And stocking up, we haven't even finished the rice we hoarded during the last pandemic. "Oh, come on, just go. The rice won't spoil. Use my card. Buy a lot. We need grains, oil, rice, flour, and medicine." "Wait, I'll send you the list." I copied and pasted the message June sent in the group, wrote down the quantities, and forwarded it to Benjamin. Benjamin was startled. "Wow, this much? Alara, aren't you exaggerating?" Uncle Carter interjected. "It's not an exaggeration. Look outside. Many homeowners have already gone out, and I also need to buy a lot. Let's go, young man, let's go together." Uncle Carter firmly grabbed Benjamin's arm and dragged him out. Benjamin was reluctant but couldn't resist, and slowly grabbed his coat and left. After Benjamin left, I immediately took out my phone to call the police. Just then, June sent me a bunch of private messages. The words on the screen turned my face pale, and my brain crashed again. 1203, "Are you still there? I think I remembered wrong. The murderer isn't your boyfriend. It's your next-door neighbor, or maybe not. I need to think carefully." It was very chaotic at the time. The police didn't announce the details of the case. There were all kinds of rumors in the neighborhood. Some say it was the uncle next door who had malicious intentions, entered a home, and pushed you down, and others say it was your boyfriend who killed for money. Both versions are being talked about. I'm not sure. I can't talk about this in the group. 1202 is also there. Just keep it in mind. I clutched my chest and collapsed onto the sofa, my mind a mess. There were a few times when wearing a short skirt. The way the uncle next door looked at me indeed made me very uncomfortable. If he is the real murderer, then Benjamin going out with him, isn't the situation quite dangerous? First, he killed Benjamin, then came back home to deal with me, and on top of that, Benjamin still had the house keys on him. I was both shocked and scared, my heart pounding wildly as I clenched the sofa cushions tightly. Just then, I heard faint footsteps at the door, followed by the sound of a key being inserted into the lock. Click. The door opened with a soft sound. The person at the door looked up and smiled at me. It was Uncle Carter from next door. Why did he have Benjamin's keys? Seeing my astonished expression, Uncle Carter pulled out the keys, casually closed the door, and his gaze lingered on my legs. It was hot, and I was only wearing shorts and a t-shirt at home. Uneasily, I placed a cushion over my thighs and pretended to be calm as I picked up my phone and shook it. "Uncle Carter, I just called the police. They said they'd be here in 5 minutes. Where's Benjamin?" Uncle Carter visibly flinched. "Oh, your boyfriend forgot his car keys, asked me to come up and get them. He's waiting downstairs. The elevator's broken. The poor guy didn't want to climb up all those flights. You know, young people these days just don't have the stamina. Don't worry, with me here, you're safe." Uncle Carter moved to sit next to me on the sofa, pretending to search for the car keys on the coffee table. His knee brushed against my thigh, sending a wave of warmth through my body. I shifted uncomfortably to the side and suddenly noticed a small patch of red blood on the left side of my calf. My pupils dilated. My heart skipped a beat. Uncle Carter was wearing black trousers, damp on the right leg. I thought it was just rainwater he caught downstairs, but it was actually blood. Something must have happened to Benjamin. "Where did you put your car keys, young lady? And to think your boyfriend trusts me to come up here alone with you. He must not care much about you, whether or not he actually wants to kill you," he said. Uncle Carter raised his hand, intending to place it on my thigh. I stood up quickly, grabbed the car keys from the coffee table, and handed them to him. Here are the keys, Uncle Carter. I think I can hear the police sirens now. What should I tell them when they arrive? Uncle Carter paused, turning to look out the window. The rain was heavier now, the drops beating against the window like the sound of drums, making everything outside sound blurred and distant. It's up to you what you say. I need to go shopping. With this rain, the roads will be flooded soon, and it'll be impossible to get out. Uncle Carter reluctantly took the car keys, his eyes sweeping over my legs one last time. Wait for us at home, young lady. After Uncle Carter left, I immediately rushed to lock the door and tried calling Benjamin's phone. After several attempts, all calls went unanswered. Benjamin must be in trouble. My eyes welled up with tears as I shakily dialed 911, but to my dismay, the police expressed doubt after hearing my story. Your neighbor killed your boyfriend. Where's the crime scene? Outside. Did they drive away? Please provide your residential address and license plate number first, so I can check the surveillance footage. After reviewing the surveillance, the police gave me a lecture. Look here, the Tiguan with the license plate ending in 669 shows 2 people in the car. Check the photo I sent via text. Isn't that your boyfriend with the neighbor? In the photo, Benjamin was driving, and Uncle Carter was sitting in the passenger seat, both of them chatting and laughing joyously. I was utterly bewildered. Was Benjamin all right? Where did Uncle Carter's blood come from? And why wasn't Benjamin answering my calls? Stop being paranoid and talking about doomsday all the time. It's raining heavily today, and there are accidents everywhere. The emergency lines haven't stopped ringing. Don't misuse emergency resources and delay help for those who truly need it. The police scolded me before hanging up the phone, after being reprimanded. For the first time, I started to doubt June. Could it be possible that he was the deceptive one, that there was no apocalypse, no murder? I opened the homeowners group chat and saw that June had posted several long messages asking about my current situation. I was about to tell him that both the neighbor next door and my boyfriend had gone out to buy supplies. As I typed these lines, something felt off. If June was deceiving me, could it be that he was the one with ulterior motives? Had he sent my neighbor and boyfriend away to have an easier chance to make a move on me? I dared not reply to him. It was as if June knew what I was thinking. He sent a few more messages. 12:03. You're not suspecting me, are you? I'm not lying. The wind is strong tonight. I remember just after 10, the sliding door on a high-rise balcony in our complex will be blown down by the wind, crushing the pet dog of that household. Not long after June sent these messages, indeed, the owner of Unit 1803 started cursing in the group. I spent over $30,000 on that custom glass sliding door. What kind of crappy quality is this? Look what it's done to my place. For neighbors who haven't renovated yet, avoid this Hangu Doors and Windows store. In the photos, the balcony door had fallen onto a sofa, and the ground was littered with broken glass and rainwater, the living room in total chaos. There was also a golden retriever lying beside it, with a small pool of blood near its feet, in the middle of the night. I now have to take my Mimi to the hospital. Neighbors, please be my witnesses. I have to demand compensation for emotional damages from the door and window store owner. The owner of 1803 continued ranting, but I didn't have the patience to read it all. June messaged me privately, repeatedly assuring that he was telling the truth. June, I'm just across from your building. After 10 at night, I saw from my window someone pushing you down. I glanced at my phone but now, it's already 10 p.m. Benjamin and Uncle Carter haven't returned yet. June, impossible. If they're not there, there must be someone else in your house. Seeing this message, I felt a chill down my spine and goosebumps all over. Just then, I heard a loud thud from the master bedroom, as if something heavy had fallen to the floor. I screamed, flung open the door, and fled the apartment, tumbling and scrambling outside. The wind was fierce, the elevator had stopped working, and the hallway lights were out, leaving everything pitch black. I ran barefoot towards the stairs, desperately racing downward. The stairwell was quiet. The only sounds were my bare feet tapping on the concrete steps and my heavy breathing as I ran. When I reached the second floor, no one seemed to be following me. I hesitated, stopping in my tracks as my phone screen lit up again. In June, I remember now, the incident should have happened around 10:45 p.m. It's normal for no one to be home at that time. June, you must have been scared and run out, right? Since you're out, don't rush back in. Wait downstairs for a bit. You might discover something unexpected. June's words were baffling. What did he mean? If there was no one else in my apartment, then where did the noise in the master bedroom come from? He wanted me to wait downstairs, but what exactly did he expect me to see? Feeling scared, confused, and overwhelmed, my mind was a mess, and my heart was racing. I took a few deep breaths and sat down at the stairwell corner, hugging my knees. As I sat down, I noticed a piece of torn fabric hanging on the railing at the corner. The stairways were lined with iron railings, worn from years of neglect, one piece jutting out dangerously, easy to cause injury if not careful. I removed the black shard, and it suddenly dawned on me, it belonged to Uncle Carter. So, did he hurt his leg climbing the stairs? Was it not Benjamin who was in trouble? While I was lost in thought, I heard the fire door on the ground Floor open, and 2 people came in. Carter. Could you first help them deliver the goods upstairs? I need to step out for a bit and we'll be back later. It was Benjamin's voice, carrying the scent of smoke. Uncle Carter choked on it and laughed. Kid, trusting me with such a delicate girlfriend of yours in the dead of night to deliver things alone. We're all neighbors here. What's there to worry about? You're not alone at home. Your wife's there too, isn't she? She took the kid back to her mother's home. It's just me now. That's fine, I trust you, Carter. Alara likes you too, always saying how tall and well-built you are, making her feel safe. Not like me, a sickly guy. We're less harmonious than an old couple. Alara often says she envies the wife. Anyway, let's drop it. I need to go out for a bit. We'll be back in an hour. Benjamin patted Uncle Carter on the shoulder and left through the fire door. Uncle Carter stood there, stunned. This doesn't seem like a murderer. Unharmonious. Damn, little vixen. No wonder she's always prancing around in skirts in front of me. Such a tease. I felt a sharp pain in my chest, a chilling cold creeping up from the floor through my feet, making me shiver. What did Benjamin mean by that? I had never said those things to him. Why would he say that? Was he trying to manipulate Uncle Carter? If what June said was true, and he wasn't home between 10 and 45, then Uncle Carter was the only one who could have killed me. But Benjamin wasn't innocent either. He gave the house keys to Uncle Carter and deliberately went out at that time to give Uncle Carter the opportunity. Was I being paranoid, or did he also want to see me dead? As I was pondering, my phone vibrated, and June sent another message. What did you see? Uncle Carter sharply looked up. Who's there? Startled, I gripped my phone tightly, not daring to move, as Uncle Carter stepped onto the first stair. Just then, 2 young men cursing pushed open the fire door. Damn, is the elevator broken? How are we supposed to deliver all this stuff up so many floors? Take the stairs. With a truckload of stuff, we'd need to make a dozen trips. Are you kidding? We'll wait here. You go call the maintenance. Uncle Carter looked up again, but the young men dragged him out. June continued to message me. Someone came back. Right. See who the murderer is. Listen to me. Go home now. Secure all your stuff. You're safe for now, until the delivery guys leave. Then he'll make his move. Stop thinking about calling the police. Just everything is in chaos outside. The police are too overwhelmed to care about you. You have to strike first. In these end times, killing does not carry legal consequences. I stared at the words killing people and felt weak, with a tingling sensation on my scalp. Me. Who are you? What do you really want? June. I have only one goal, June. To keep you alive, no matter how much I questioned June. He didn't respond again. I was unsure about the truthfulness of his words and puzzled by the noises in my bedroom. I didn't dare go back upstairs and could only wait at the ground floor elevator. Soon, Uncle Carter arrived with the property management. Our complex is run down, and there are only a few people in the property management, with an old man on duty at night. He was skinny and short, squinting and yawning. There's nobody in the elevator. It's broken anyway. It's the middle of the night, and it's pouring rain. Where am I supposed to find someone to fix it? Should we leave these goods here and deliver them tomorrow? Uncle Carter became anxious. That won't do. What if they get soaked and ruined? We need to move them upstairs tonight. Alara, what are you doing here too? Uncle Carter gave a naive smile, his gaze lingering on my bare legs. I nodded and moved behind the property manager. Benjamin called me to come down and help move things. You don't need to lift a finger with us strong men around. More hands make lighter work, I replied nonchalantly, not wanting to engage with Uncle Carter. The delivery guys were arguing with the property manager, who impatiently walked over and kicked the elevator. This damn elevator, always breaking down. There, it's fixed. Everyone was speechless, but the elevator started working again. Pleased with himself, the old property manager left, and the supermarket delivery staff started loading the boxes of supplies into the elevator. Once upstairs, I intentionally had them place the items in the master bedroom. In the master bedroom, the window wasn't properly closed, and the inner screen had been blown off by the wind and crashed to the floor, likely causing the earlier noise. I took the opportunity to check the entire house to make sure there were no signs of anyone else, and finally relaxed. June was right. There was no one else in the house, which meant Uncle Carter was very likely the culprit. After the supplies were moved, the supermarket staff left. I glanced at the time. It was 10:42 p.m. Uncle Carter was still lingering in the living room, complaining of thirst and refusing to leave. Uncle Carter, Benjamin will be back soon. He won't be back that quickly. I have time for a cup of tea, right? Uncle Carter looked at me with a smile, his gaze moving from my legs up to my chest and then to my face. I pretended to be calm. That's true. I'll pour you a cup of tea. I went to the kitchen, my hands trembling as I tightly gripped a fruit knife. Uncle Carter, this apple is so hard, I can't cut it. Can you help me? I stood in front of the sink, lowering my voice as I called Uncle Carter. Sure enough, he quickly came over, excitedly pressing his body against my back, one arm wrapped around my waist. How hard can an apple be? Why don't you try mine? I suddenly turned around, gripping a dagger, and thrust it toward Uncle Carter's throat. Uncle Carter reacted more swiftly than I had expected, quickly stepping back, But it was too late. The dagger still slashed his throat, blood spurted out as Uncle Carter's eyes widened, and he lunged at me ferociously. "Damn you, you little bitch." I grabbed a cleaver and swung it fiercely at him, striking his arm, then turned and ran, clutching the kitchen door tightly. Uncle Carter followed, trying to pull the door open. His strength was significant, but the harder he pulled, the faster he bled. Soon, his face turned pale, and he collapsed to the floor. The kitchen's glass door was smeared with bloody handprints. I kept pulling the door tightly, biting my lip to stop myself from crying. As time ticked by, only when I was sure Uncle Carter could no longer move did I let go. Sitting on the floor, trembling as I unlocked my phone, a message from June stopped my heart for a moment. "June, did you kill Benjamin?" "Me? I killed Uncle Carter. Didn't you say that the murderer would be home by 10:40? Benjamin wasn't even there. And why do you know Benjamin's name? Who are you exactly?" "June, did Uncle Carter come back first this time?" "June, trust me, Benjamin is the real murderer." "June, there's no time left. You need to clean up the scene quickly. Benjamin will be home soon." I felt on the verge of breaking down. What does she mean by "did Uncle Carter come back first this time"? Was there a previous time? What is June even talking about? But I no longer had time to gather my thoughts. Benjamin sent me a message. "Alara, I went all the way to the south of the city to buy your favorite strawberry cake. Haven't you gone to bed yet?" "I'm downstairs." I picked up the dagger and headed to the bathroom, changing out of my blood-stained clothes and turned the shower on full blast. The cold water poured down on me, sending chills through my body, snapping me back to reality. If June was lying and there was no apocalypse, by killing Uncle Carter, I had doomed myself. How could I explain this to the police? Claim self-defense, but I had no wounds on me. Would the police believe that? And Benjamin? Why did he suddenly leave? And why did he say those things? Was he hinting that Uncle Carter would attack me? My life was ruined. Why would Benjamin do this at this point? It seemed I had no choice. In such moments, I somehow found myself calming down quickly. I changed into pajamas and was just walking into the living room when Benjamin arrived. "Alara, open the door. Alara, are you there?" I clenched the dagger and walked to the kitchen, tearing my pajamas and lying down on the pool of blood. I really wanted to know, was this the scene Benjamin wanted to see? After a few shouts, the key turned. Benjamin opened the door first. He paced around the living room and noticed bloodstains on the floor. In a few strides, he rushed to the kitchen door and forcefully slid it open. Benjamin sharply inhaled in shock. "Damn it, how could such a big guy be so useless? To die just like that? Well, it's better that he's dead. Saves him from spilling what he knew about my car, claiming I suggested he come." After a moment of silence, Benjamin kicked me. "Alara, don't blame me. I've been so good to you. After all these years together, knowing how rich you actually are, you still kept it from me. We've been living in this crappy apartment, splitting the rent, and always eating fast food. What did you take me for? No, it's fine. I'll make good use of your money. The face recognition on your mobile banking should still work right after death, right?" As he spoke, Benjamin began to pry my eyelids open. Seizing the moment, I suddenly sat up and forcefully stabbed him in the neck with the dagger. Releasing the dagger, I sobbed and staggered back until I leaned against the kitchen cabinet. "Benjamin, why would you do this to me?" Benjamin's eyes were wide open this time. I stabbed deeper than before. Perhaps Benjamin's body was too frail, and he collapsed to the floor without uttering a word. After killing 2 people, my emotions completely collapsed. I picked up my phone from the floor and instinctively sought comfort from June. "Me, I killed Benjamin. I've killed someone. I've killed again." "June, are you sure they're both dead? Do you have Uncle Carter's phone?" "June, good. Alara, next, dress Benjamin in women's clothes and throw his body from the upstairs. There's a small protruding balcony on the 3rd floor. Throw him from the direction of the master bedroom. He will land right on that balcony. There's already water accumulated there. By tomorrow, the body will be swollen beyond recognition, and no one will notice his gender." "Me, but won't the other residents call the police?" "June, first, tell everyone you've already called the police. Speak in the group chat using Uncle Carter's phone. At a time like this, no one else will intervene. Before tomorrow morning, you need to dispose of the body." "June, just drag him to 303. It's an unfinished apartment. Lock the door, and no one will care." I didn't understand the need for June's elaborate plans. Uncle Carter's wife and children had gone back to her mother's house. I could have hidden both bodies at Uncle Carter's place. No one would have found them. The end of days was upon us. Even if it took a month or 2, no one would investigate. Why then draw more attention? "June, Alara, even now, do you still not trust me?" June seemed quite upset, sending a string of exclamation marks. "June, we've come so far. You must listen to me. June, I promise you, once you've done all this, I'll tell you the truth. Regardless of whether you do it or not, it can't get any worse, right, June?" You have no choice but to trust me. June was right. At this point, I really had no other options left. I shook my head vigorously to clear the clutter of thoughts and dragged Benjamin's body next to the master bedroom window. I opened the group chat interface, and as expected, the residents were still chatting. The chat showed 99 plus messages, with everyone sharing what supplies they had bought and some still arguing, refusing to believe in any doomsday scenario. For O2, apocalypse, my foot, how can you all believe this nonsense? I bet this rain won't last more than 3 days. Come on, whether you believe it or not, it's better to be safe than sorry. For 102, if it really were the end, and you haven't stocked up, how long would your food last? For O2, I'm not stocking up. My neighbors stock food. I stock guns. My neighbors are my food supply. You all are buying so much. How could you let me starve? Haha. It was obviously a joke, but June suddenly replied in the group chat. For O2 is right. When doomsday comes, everyone will be scrambling for supplies. Those who bought the most are essentially buying for others, who bought the most stuff anyway. I think I saw a large truck from Suway Supermarket. I saw that too. It seems to be from our building. Probably bought by 1203, right? No, it was 1202 who bought them. I saw him moving stuff upstairs in the basement, but I saw 1203 moving stuff too. Isn't that woman from 1203 a rich second generation? It makes sense she bought a lot. Doesn't the family in 1202 lack that kind of money? Wait, didn't June say that the woman from 1203 would be killed? How can she still be moving stuff around? What time is it even? What kind of profit is this? Must be fake. June messaged me privately. Alara, you see, everyone knows you've been buying supplies. If you don't die now, you'll become a target when doomsday comes. Everyone will want to rob you. I instantly understood. Yes, if doomsday were real, then Alara must die, and this apartment must be vacant. I hesitated no more. I dressed Benjamin in a pink dress, then moved his body to the windowsill and pushed it down hard, while letting out a piercing scream myself. The scream cut through the rain, and I saw several figures opening their windows to look out. Holy shit, which floor is that? Someone just fell down. It's 1203. The woman from 1203 fell down, right there on the third floor balcony. Oh my god, there really was a murder. Call the police. Hurry, call the police. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed Uncle Carter's phone, and texted in the group chat. 1202, I've already called the police. Damn, that scared the hell out of me. I just heard a commotion next door and was about to go over and calm things down. That pretty boy looked so gentle. Didn't expect him to be a murderer. Don't worry, I'm right here watching the door until the police arrive. He won't get away. Some other concerned neighbors said they would help keep watch at the door. I panicked, not knowing how to respond if they came over and didn't see Uncle Carter. Wouldn't that give it all away? But June was calm. Yes, everyone should go. In case the murderer tries to attack, having more people could help block him. Otherwise, I guess 1202 alone would have a tough time. With that said, those who came to see the commotion immediately lost interest. What a joke. To squat at a murderer's doorstep, that's just asking for trouble. Better to wait for the police in peace. Some tried to contact the property management, but the old man was playing dead, not replying to messages or answering calls. You have to admit, June knows human nature well. Most people are self-preserving. I waited until 1 a.m., and not a soul appeared at the door. Figuring it was about time, I photoshopped an image of a policeman's back and posted it in the group chat. The police have arrived and taken him away. The boyfriend from 1203 seemed stunned, just sitting on the ground apologizing. Looking quite honest, most people were asleep, while a few young people who were still awake chimed in with their comments, like a murderer would be honest. Didn't they say 1203 had bought a lot of stuff? No, there's no one in her place. What a waste. She didn't buy it. I did. I think she argued with her boyfriend over buying supplies. He kept calling her foolish and wasteful. After some casual chatting, the group gradually quieted down. I changed into a black tracksuit, put on a cap, and took the elevator down to the third floor. I dragged Benjamin's body back to the room from the terrace. The rain intensified, pounding painfully against my head. After dealing with Benjamin's body, I moved Uncle Carter back to his own place. Uncle Carter was a big, heavy man. By the time I finished everything and cleaned the house, it was already daylight. After showering, I sat heavily on the sofa, feeling sore and exhausted, barely able to move my fingers. June seemed to have sent me a few messages, but I was too tired to check. Sinking into the sofa, surrounded by the roaring thunderstorm, I soon fell asleep. When I woke up, it was dark again. It was only 4 p.m., but the rain was even heavier than the day before, forming dense sheets in the air and turning the ground into a white expanse. The water in the residential area had risen to ankle level, and there was no one downstairs. The residents' chat group, however, was lively, with messages continuously popping up, mostly discussing last night's murder case. I scrolled up to catch up on the chat, mostly mentions of Uncle Carter asking him for details of the case, with no one suspecting the truth. June, Alara, did we succeed? June, great, this method really works. Now, just lock your doors and windows, ignore everything outside, and we can survive. June, these supplies should last you at least a year. No one else in the building will suspect or come to steal the supplies. This is definitely the best strategy. You won't have to go to the rooftop anymore. Me, rooftop? What do you mean? Why should I go to the rooftop? June, don't you want to know who I am? June, the truth about everything is on the rooftop, but I hope you never go there. June, Alara, you must keep living. After sending this message, June stopped responding. Meanwhile, Uncle Carter's phone kept vibrating nonstop with missed calls. Almost every 2 minutes, his wife was frantically looking for him. Why aren't you answering my video calls? Are you with that woman again? I knew it. You drove us away on purpose just to mess around with her. Carter, if you don't come to my house and apologize on your knees within 3 days, you won't see your son again. I hesitated for a moment, then sent one word: go away. Then, I promptly blocked his wife. With the rain continuing like this for another week, the area was a complete flood, and his wife couldn't possibly return on the 4th day. As the neighbors initially chatted excitedly every day, some began to ask for supplies. Does anyone have extra food? I'll buy it. Rice, instant noodles, anything will do. With this terrible weather, my car in the basement won't start. Someone replied, starting your car is pointless. The roads are flooded, and there have been numerous accidents every day. It's a complete mess out there. Don't go outside. Just go to the supermarket downstairs and look for Charles. Hualien Supermarket responded, it's your own fault for not stocking up. Doesn't room 1202 have a lot? You've hoarded so much stuff. How can one person eat it all? Sell some to him. After some thought, I cautiously replied, I have a big appetite. I barely have enough for myself. If you want something, go buy it yourself. Some called me stingy, others criticized me. Pfft, with all that stock, it will just rot in your hands once the weather clears up. Then someone else had a suggestion. Doesn't room 1203 have stuff? She died so suddenly, she must have left plenty behind. At times like this, don't worry about stealing, just break into her place. She's dead anyway. It's not like she needs it. This sent a chill down my spine, and I immediately sat upright. Room 1202. Sorry, you're too late. The day the police took her boyfriend, I already cleared out her place. Better luck next time. The chat erupted in outrage, everyone accusing me of lacking decency, looting from the dead. Shameless. Room 1202. Yes, I have no decency. Go ahead, call the cops if you dare. You think they'd bother over something so trivial? The neighbors continued berating me, though a few good-natured ones tried to mediate. Let it go. There's no point in arguing. Hey, you, come over to my place. I'll sell you a box of instant noodles. I'm in Unit 701, days of torrential rain, and many didn't take it seriously. Those who didn't stock up initially were now braving the rain to buy supplies, while others who had hoarded food were content lying at home scrolling through their phones. The news was filled with reports of disasters, landslides, car accidents, typhoons, building collapses. Inside, however, lying on the sofa sipping tea and watching TV, there was a strange sense of calm and satisfaction. But this calm didn't last long. A week later, our complex had no water supply, and 9 days later, the power went out. The water outage was bearable. With the heavy rain, one could just collect rainwater to boil for baths and drinking. But the power outage was a real problem. No TV, no phone, no cooking, no boiling water, doing nothing. Trapped inside, could drive anyone insane. The rain grew stronger each day, the basement was completely flooded, and the pathways and flower beds in the complex were submerged. Looking down from the window, all you could see was a vast expanse of murky water, dotted with greenery and colorful floating garbage. Our building had a 5-meter elevated first floor, and though the water hadn't completely reached it, some people couldn't stay any longer. I saw a neighbor from the opposite building on the 2nd floor jump into the water, then swim towards the exit of the complex. Other neighbors shouted from their balconies, "Where are you going?" "I don't know," the man shouted back, then murmured something under his breath, but with the rain so heavy, no one could hear what he said. Everyone stood silently by the window, watching him swim away from the complex until his figure disappeared into a small black dot in the vast expanse of water. I hid behind the curtains, sighed, and continued to lie on the sofa to read, with no lights on. The living room was dim, but I dared not go to the balcony. In everyone's eyes, I was as good as dead. I couldn't openly collect water with a basin at the window. Instead, I left the bathroom window open, placing the basin on the floor against the wall. The rain splashed on the windowsill before falling into it. This method was dirtier than directly catching the water, but it was safer. My daily life consisted of reading, exercising, and talking to myself. Occasionally, a neighbor would burst onto The hallway, banging forcefully on the door of apartment 1202. Open up, give me some food, open the door. I stood behind my door at 1203, excitedly observing everything through the peephole. The security door was very sturdy. It was almost impossible to break in by force, and most people left in vain until one day, a man with dyed yellow hair, carrying a toolbox, managed to pry open the door of 1202 after more than an hour. The body of Uncle Carter had been decomposing terribly. The yellow-haired man took one look inside and hurried out, covering his nose. Damn, did he kill himself? Ate up everything. He rummaged for 1202 and found some uneaten grains and oils in the kitchen. Isn't there still stuff left? How fragile. Forget it. Living like this is meaningless. Even I don't want to live anymore. With a sigh, the yellow-haired man moved all the food from Uncle Carter's apartment out into the hallway, then suddenly turned and stared at my door. 1203 died so suddenly. There must still be some food left in there, right? He took a few steps, set down his toolbox by my door, then suddenly slapped his head. Shit, why do I remember someone in the group saying it was all scavenged by 1202? Damn, how can one eat so much? Like a pig. He gave up, he tidied up the things and went straight downstairs. The door of 1202 remained open, and occasionally someone would take a look and leave disappointed. Gradually, no one else came, and the only amusement in my life disappeared. The water had risen to the third floor and stopped rising. The surface was littered with floating bodies. It felt like the number of living people in the building was dwindling. The sky was perpetually gray. The relentless rain kept everything damp and sticky at home. I felt like I was rotting, sunk into the damp sofa. My mind was filled with June's last words. He said the truth was on the top floor, but he hoped I would never go up there. But he didn't know that in extreme boredom, the temptation of a door on the top floor that shouldn't be opened outweighs everything. Every conscious moment, I thought about the top floor. Who exactly was June? What was the truth about the top floor? Why did he know so much about me? Why did I foresee everything? I should have gone up to take a look. Almost everyone in this building must be dead by now. No one can threaten me. It's safe for me to go out now. After hesitating at home for 3 days, I finally decided to leave. There's an iron door on the top floor leading to a terrace. The door wasn't locked. A wooden rod was horizontally inserted as a makeshift bolt. I pulled out the wooden rod and opened the iron door. The terrace was empty, except for a power distribution room in the far corner. Its orange roof stood out against the gloomy, stormy sky. I walked around the rooftop and opened the door to the power room. Inside, it was a sea of crimson. The white walls were covered with words written in red marker. I squinted and read around, growing more shocked by the moment. The writings on the wall were diary entries. I looked up, my voice trembling as I read aloud, word by word. March 22nd, 2024. The rain has been falling for 10 days. Benjamin and I are trapped at home. He gambles on his phone every day and has forced me to transfer money to him. I refused, and he abused me. He even tried to kill me. I escaped to the rooftop. I found a strange phone showing the date from 10 days ago. The phone couldn't make calls. It only had a group chat. I tried asking for help in the homeowners group chat to call the police, but they all said that no one was on the rooftop. I can't leave. I will die here, and it's Benjamin's fault. I paused for a few seconds before continuing. March 22nd, 2024, second entry. 10 days ago, I received a bizarre text from a neighbor named June, who said that Benjamin would kill me and advised me to call the police immediately. He predicted the storm at 7 o'clock and that my window would fall out at 10 p.m. He was right about everything, but it all seemed too absurd to believe. The rain has been falling for 10 days, trapping Benjamin and me at home, here on the rooftop. The diary on the wall seemed to be reenacting reality. I saw the phone. It turns out that I sent that message. I am June 21. Am I June? Was it me who sent those messages? My mind went blank, almost incapable of thought, mechanically scanning the wall, continuing to read the words. March 26th, 2024, third entry. It's the 26th, and I've survived 4 days longer than last time. I found evidence of Benjamin's gambling on his phone and knew he intended to harm me. I asked my neighbors for help, but Uncle Carter turned out to be no good either. He tried to assault me, and I fled to the rooftop. Next time, don't trust Uncle Carter. April 29th, 2024, 7th entry. I survived longer than before, but I've run out of food. It's chaos outside. I dared not leave and ran to the rooftop, contemplating ending my life. Next time, I need more food. June 18th, 2024, 10th entry. They found my food. The neighbors broke down my door and madly looted my supplies. They tried to kill me, and I escaped to the rooftop. Next time, I can't let them know how much I've hoarded. I can't even let them know I'm at home. I need to think this through. I must survive. I sat on the ground, dazed, for a long while before I managed to piece together what had happened. Am I caught in an endless loop? Every time someone harms me, I run to the rooftop, and then I find a phone that can travel through time and space to send a message to myself on March 22nd. 2024, after so many failures, have I finally succeeded? Have I finally broken out of the loop? I searched around the electrical box and found the phone in a corner. It was an old model, seemingly struck by lightning, with scorch marks on the back of the screen, but oddly, the screen was still lit, displaying a date from 6 months ago, March 22nd, 2024. How could it still have battery after all this time? I turned on the phone and tentatively sent a message to the group chat. Hello everyone, I'm June. There was a quick response. Who are you? Why didn't you write down the room number in the notes? I immediately became excited. God knows, it had been half a year, a full 6 months, and finally I could communicate with someone again. I eagerly stuffed my phone into my pocket, planning to study it carefully when I got home. After living through the apocalypse for so long and being alone on the top floor, I still felt very insecure. But when I reached the iron gate, I was completely stunned. I remembered that when I came in, the gate was open. Why was it closed again? Was it blown shut by the wind? This iron gate was so heavy. If it was blown shut by the wind, it should have made a noise. Why didn't I hear anything? A bad premonition welled up in my heart. I stretched out my hand tremblingly and pulled hard. The iron gate didn't budge an inch. In a panic, I gripped the handle with both hands, stepped on the wall with one foot, and pulled the iron gate outward with all my might. This time, the iron gate shook. The wooden bolt behind the door hit the wall, making a faint sound. Someone had rebolted the iron gate from the inside. Who are you? Let me out. Let me out. I desperately shook the iron gate. After a while, a faint voice came from inside the door. I saw that you were at home. I was taken aback, and a huge sense of fear filled my heart. In the past few days, I had been a bit less careful and occasionally walked out to the balcony at night to breathe in some fresh air. But who was this person? Weren't all the neighbors in the building dead? He had followed me, and after I went upstairs, he locked me on the top floor and stole my hard-earned fruits of victory. I had gone through so many reincarnations with great difficulty, but it was him who survived in the end. I pounded on the iron gate like a madman, but there was no more sound from inside. The rain poured down in torrents. I fell back to the ground in pain, letting the raindrops smash against my body. Wait a minute, I still had my phone. That's right, I could do it all over again this time. I had to remind myself that I must not expose myself and must not go to the top floor. I would definitely break this cycle. I returned to the power distribution room in a daze, took out my phone tremblingly, and sent several messages. Neighbors, I'm from the year 2026. This heavy rain hasn't stopped. The end of the world has arrived. Hurry up and stockpile supplies to save yourselves. Story 2. After the terrifying extreme cold hit, I stocked up and stayed at home with my parents. In the snowy wilderness, our family of 3 gathered around the table to enjoy a meal of hot pot with thinly sliced lamb. This was the 3rd time I had this dream. In the dream, everything was shrouded in a white blur. The goose feather-like snow was whipped into a frenzy by the cold wind, and the extreme cold seemed to freeze the air solid. The cold air sucked into my nostrils tightened my entire respiratory tract, making me feel somewhat suffocated. Everywhere, there were bodies frozen into the ice. Beside me were my relatives, long dead, their bodies turned into ice sculptures. A slight touch, and their limbs would fall off, shattering on the ground. As far as the eye could see, there were no more living people. Only the howling of the cold wind remained between heaven and earth. I curled up in a corner, my limbs first aching piercingly, then gradually becoming numb, losing all sensation. It wasn't long before my consciousness began to blur, and a bright light seemed to appear before my eyes. I suddenly woke up, sitting up in bed drenched in sweat. The chirping of insects outside the window faintly entered the room, and without the air conditioning on, it was hot like a steam room. My back was soaked with sweat. Wiping the sweat from my forehead, I moved my stiff toes and couldn't help but shiver. It was that dream again. This was the 3rd time I had this dream. The earth had plunged into a sudden extreme cold of minus 40 degrees Celsius overnight, drastically reducing the global population, and nearly all my family died in this catastrophe. If after the first dream I could still marvel that I had watched too many disaster movies, the 3rd time I had the exact same dream chilled me to the bone. It was terrifyingly real. The sensation of being frozen alive was too vivid. My fingertips still tingled with pain, and I was still covered in a cold sweat. I even clearly remembered the day the extreme cold arrived. August 21st, early morning. Snow suddenly fell in the midsummer sky, followed by the arrival of a deadly ice hail that claimed countless lives. I looked at my phone. It was August 19th, only 2 days left until the morning of the 21st. A lightning-like thought crossed my mind, making me shiver. Could it be a prophecy otherwise? How could I explain having the exact same dream 3 nights in a row? My body hair stood on end, all desire for sleep gone, and I sat up in bed thinking before picking up my phone to check the balances of my bank accounts. I didn't believe in such things in the world, but these 3 dreams must signify something. I had to take action. I'm self-employed, and business had been mediocre lately. I had cashed out my shop, and now I had about 300,000 in all my accounts. But then, my hand holding the phone paused, my motion halted. It was just a dream, after all. Was it necessary to make such a big fuss? That was all my savings, if the extreme cold didn't come. I'd have worked for nothing these past 2 years. I hesitated, unable to make up my mind. Just then, the phone screen suddenly lit up. A notification arrived. I opened it to see a message. The Meteorological Department, Q City Meteorological Station, issued a high-temperature red warning on August 18th at 2:13 a.m., controlled by the subtropical high. Maximum temperatures in Z and F districts are expected to reach 45 degrees. Please take precautions against heat. In the dark, I stared at the pale screen, pupils constricted. Yes, in the dream I also received such a message. 3 consecutive days of high temperatures followed by heavy snow. The sudden arrival of extreme cold. Sweat beaded on my forehead as I sat down at the table, teeth clenched. I could hesitate no longer. I had to make a plan now. I immediately called my parents overseas. They were still touring in Thailand, and I urged them to leave their tour group immediately and by the earliest flight back home. My parents sounded surprised on the phone. Delilah, have you lost your mind? We spent a fortune on this tour and it's only been 2 days. Is there an emergency at home? I replied, exhausted. Just do as I say. Would I ever harm you? You need to catch the earliest flight and try to get back tomorrow. Though they grumbled a bit, they couldn't argue with me and reluctantly agreed. Once I got home, I urgently had someone install thermal insulation and foam layers in the bedroom, due to the time constraint. The installation was rough and unsightly, but I couldn't afford to be concerned about that at the moment. During the installation, my upstairs neighbor came down several times. The woman, skinny and wearing a spaghetti strap dress, was loud as she banged on the door. When I opened it, she glared at me sharply. The noise from your renovations is incessant. How do you expect anyone to sleep? My husband works night shifts. What if you disrupt his rest? I apologized politely. I'm sorry. I've tried to schedule the work during regular hours, after 10 a.m. and before 6 p.m. Please understand. The woman rolled her eyes. Behind her, a burly man with a fierce expression raised his fist threateningly. Are you deaf? I need to sleep during the day, and I can't with all that banging. Patiently, I asked, what do you suggest then? I can't do renovations at night. How about I only work in the afternoon and stop in the morning? Not in the morning either, the woman snapped, her eyebrows furrowing. You'll be costing us his work time. You'll have to compensate us for lost wages. Feeling helpless, I reflected on how difficult these neighbors were. They had previously occupied another neighbor's parking space and refused to move, forcing the neighbor to find an alternative. They also had a habit of littering in the hallway, constantly drawing complaints from the janitorial staff. Their troublesome reputation was well known in the community. However, I had no time to waste arguing with them, so I pulled out 1,000 yuan from my wallet and handed it over. I'm only renovating for 2 days. Here's some compensation for your trouble. 1,000 isn't enough, at least 2,000. The woman's eyes gleamed greedily as she eyed my wallet. Suppressing my anger, I pulled out another 1,000 yuan and threw it into her hand, then slammed the door shut. Laughter and a shout came from outside. Just 2 days, any more and you'll have to pay extra. I ignored her and continued with my preparations. As long as they take my money, I just hope they have the chance to spend it. The renovations continued, and in between, I raided every supermarket I could find in the vicinity. I planned to buy perishable meats on the 20th as it was still too warm now, and they would spoil within a day if brought home earlier. I purchased various types of grains, oils, fruits, vegetables, and everyday seasonings, filling several large shopping carts over multiple trips. I also spent a considerable amount on warm clothing and bedding materials like down jackets, down quilts, and cotton quilts. Besides, I stocked up on essential supplies like medicines, alcohol, fuel, lighters, diesel generators, and other household items, including a large amount of drinking water. With the expected temperatures, I knew mobile phones would be unusable, so I only bought a few power banks as backups. After finishing all the arrangements, I finally picked up my phone to call my parents. Considering the time, they should have arrived by now, but as I picked up the phone, I froze. My mom had sent a message. Delilah, there's a typhoon and the flights have been delayed. Don't worry, we should be able to leave soon. My mind buzzed. When I tried to call them back, there was no response. I quickly checked the flight tickets. They were supposed to be on the nearest flight, FE 2164, which had been delayed to the morning of the 20th. I had called them in the early hours of the 19th. So if everything had gone smoothly, they should have almost arrived by now, but if it's now scheduled for the morning of the 20th, that means they would arrive in the early hours of the 21st, right in time for the cold disaster. A chill ran through me as I frantically started calling them one after another. Here is the translation. I had no idea what they were up to since they weren't answering their phones at all. It wasn't until the early morning of the 20th that my mom finally sent me a message. We're about to board the plane. Don't worry, your dad lost his phone, and mine is running out of battery, so I'll stop here. Wait for us at the airport. I was on the verge of tears. The good news was that, from what I remembered, the cold disaster was supposed to strike at midnight, so their flight wouldn't be affected. The bad news was that they might not even finish collecting their luggage before the disaster hit, even though the temperature on the first day wouldn't drop too low. It was expected to reach about minus 20 degrees Celsius. They were coming back from Thailand and likely didn't even have coats. I doubted they could withstand the cold for long. I had to go to the airport early to wait for them and head straight home as soon as I picked them up, or else, the thought of the nightmare scenario I had dreamed of sent chills through my body. On the last day, I bought a lot of meat products: pork, beef, lamb, chicken, fish, and other seafood filled my home's fridge and freezer. The excess I couldn't fit was thrown into the storage room, where I turned the air conditioning to the lowest setting. It should keep for a while. After stocking up on all the essentials, I converted all my remaining money into coal and firewood, storing them in my study. After the extreme cold hit, humanity completely lost its order, and water and electricity were soon cut off. The only way to stay warm was the most primitive method: starting a fire. I wasn't sure how long my preparations would last, but I had done my best, everything ready. I drove to the airport to wait for their flight to land. Night fell quickly, and I sat in the airport chair wrapped in two thick down jackets, wide-eyed and sleepless. Despite it being late, the airport was bustling with people. The lights shone brightly everywhere, and an LED screen displayed an advertisement featuring a popular actress smiling as she promoted a hair care product. Passers-by with their luggage, and many travel groups gathered together, talking loudly, with a guide waving a small red flag, instructing them to check in their bags. They seemed to be on a trip, their faces filled with happiness and anticipation. Watching them, I felt a mix of emotions. I had posted many warning posts online, but fearing accusations of spreading rumors, I had been somewhat vague. I didn't know if it would make any difference, but if even one person survived because of my warning, it would be worth it. The large clock in the airport ticked by, each movement making me unspeakably nervous. I was both afraid of the extreme cold arriving and terrified it might not. I watched the time go by minute by minute. 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Finally, at 11:40, the flight information began to be announced. A sweet voice rang out: Fong Airlines Flight FE2164 has arrived at Q City International Airport. I had sent countless messages earlier, asking my parents to come out immediately without their luggage after landing, but I wasn't sure if they had seen them. The bright incandescent lights coldly lit the flight tower, and through the window, I could see people outside in shorts and t-shirts, faces dripping with sweat. A young girl's makeup was ruined by sweat as she touched it up with a compact by the roadside. Some middle-aged men simply lifted their shirts to expose their bellies to cool down. Today was indeed very hot, reaching a high of 46 degrees Celsius, and it felt even hotter, to the point where an egg could cook on the pavement in no time. It was the hottest day of the summer, but experts claimed this summer would be the coolest in the next 100 years, meaning every year hereafter would be hotter than this one. Only I knew that wouldn't be possible. The dream hadn't shown how long the extreme cold lasted because I had frozen to death just a few days after it began. That absolute low temperature reminded me of the great ice ages in Earth's history, when some places reportedly reached an average temperature of minus 50 degrees Celsius, and the whole Earth was frozen, with only a few creatures living near volcanoes or in unfrozen waters surviving. I didn't know how long this bout of extreme cold would last, but I knew it wouldn't end soon. I had to prepare for a long-term battle against the cold. Thank heaven, this time my parents listened for once and rushed over without their luggage. My dad, with his big belly, was wearing a floral shirt and a straw hat bought from a tourist spot, waving at me. My mom was wearing sunglasses at night, wearing a floral dress. She remembered to touch up her lipstick. Following behind them was Aunt Zara, who had also traveled to Thailand with them. My mom had mentioned that Aunt Zara had felt unwell due to the change in environment and had come back with them. Over here, I waved frantically at them, constantly glancing back at the time displayed above the terminal. 11:57. In 3 minutes, this place would turn into a frozen hell. My parents hurried along with the crowd, and my mom, visibly anxious, gave me a smack and complained, "What's the rush? What happened?" I didn't have the patience to explain. I just grabbed her and started to walk away, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw Aunt Zara standing nearby. She was an old friend of my mom's, though a bit too showy for my taste, which I didn't particularly like, but at that moment, I couldn't help but feel a pang of compassion and asked, "Aunt Zara, why don't you come with us?" Aunt Zara gave me a glance and smiled, gracefully touching her hair as she replied, "Delilah, you go ahead. I'm waiting for my daughter and son-in-law to pick me up. They're already on their way." I knew Aunt Zara's daughter had married a wealthy man who drove a Maybach, which Aunt Zara loved because it made her feel prestigious. Persuading a stubborn soul can be impossible. I wasn't fond of Aunt Zara, who always subtly compared her daughter to me, so I nodded, grabbed my parents, and ran forward. I glanced at the time again. 11:59. People around were complaining about the heat, despite it nearing midnight. The temperature was rising. Even the airport's air conditioning was ineffective. against the stifling heat, and it felt as though the air had stopped circulating. My dad ran beside me, sweating profusely and gasping, "Let's take a break, it's damn hot, hotter than in Thailand." My mom's freshly applied makeup had streaked due to the sweat. As she wiped her sweat, she grumbled, "Exactly, it's like a steam room. I feel like I'm being cooked." I looked at her, "It'll cool down soon." Boom, it's now midnight sharp. The terminal began announcing the time, and at the sound of the electronic tone, my heart skipped a beat as I turned to look outside. A cold gust swirled outside, and suddenly snowflakes began to fall against the dark sky, illuminated into bizarre colors by the neon lights. At first, a few snowflakes melted quickly due to the high temperature. Then, a blanket of snow began to fall, quickly fogging up the glass with a layer of white vapor. Someone nearby exclaimed, "Holy shit, is it snowing? Snow in August? What kind of injustice is this?" A young man excitedly started recording with his phone. People crowded at the windows, buzzing with excitement as they discussed the bizarre weather. No one was aware of the impending doom. The heavy snow roared down from the sky like a divine punishment, and the oblivious humans were about to be punished. It seemed like in an instant, the temperature dropped. My mom rubbed her arms, where goosebumps had formed, puzzled. "Why does it suddenly feel chilly? Are you guys cold?" I pursed my lips, pulled out down jackets from my bag, and handed them to them, saying firmly, "If we don't leave now, we might not be able to at all." Just as we stepped out of the terminal, a blast of cold air hit us, chilling me to the bone. The snowflakes were large, whipped up by the wind into a swirling dance. Soon, a thin layer of snow had accumulated on the ground. Even at this late hour, the airport road was bustling with pedestrians and taxis waiting for fares, but now, everyone was in a panic. Those with cars hurried into them, and those without ran back towards the airport. My dad jumped into the car, panicking. "What the hell is going on? Why did it suddenly start snowing?" I glanced at the temperature gauge, -5 degrees. In just 5 minutes, the temperature had plummeted by more than 40 degrees, and this was just the beginning. I started the car and turned on the heater, flooring the accelerator onto the road. The drastic change in temperature had my mom shivering uncontrollably, her breath visible as white puffs as she spoke. "What on earth is going on? It's never this cold here in winter." I glanced at their panicked expressions in the rearview mirror and briefly explained what had happened over the past few days, including the 3 strange dreams and the supplies I had hoarded. My parents were silent for a long time after hearing this. It took a while before I heard them swallow. What I told them sounded like a tall tale, but now, with the howling blizzard outside, it strangely seemed believable. "So," my mom's voice was a bit hoarse, "what do we do now?" She looked anxiously at my dad. -40 degrees Celsius, isn't that almost like the Antarctic? Can we survive this? My mom is really just a housewife. She seems tough on a regular day, but loses her nerve in real crises. I fiercely turned the steering wheel and exited the highway, forcing myself to stay calm. "Don't worry, we're prepared. We just need to hold on. We can make it through." The car's heater was slowly becoming less effective due to the dropping temperatures outside. In less than 20 minutes, the temperature had fallen another 10 degrees, and it was now nearly -20 degrees Celsius. Our city is by the sea, known for mild winters and cool summers. We've never seen anything like this. The car quickly fogged up, and I had to turn on the defroster, but the snow was falling too heavily. Everything outside was a blur of fog, and the high-beam headlights turned the densely packed snowflakes yellow, the light unable to penetrate through. I thought we would make it home smoothly, but from afar, I saw a long line at the highway exit. The low visibility had caused a traffic jam, every vehicle stuck together, with drivers in light clothing shivering as they ran towards the toll booths. The line was so long, it seemed endless. I slammed the steering wheel in frustration. This was unexpected. I hadn't anticipated any issues exiting the highway, and now we were completely stuck, unable to move forward or backward. The sharp sounds of horns honking were incessant, many drivers expressing their anger, but no one dared to open their car doors and run out. It happened so suddenly. Almost everyone was in short sleeves, and if they left their cars now, they wouldn't survive long. The only chance of survival was inside the cars. With the heaters on, the car lights were bright everywhere, and I helplessly hugged my arms and sighed. "Let's just wait. It should clear up soon." I turned the heater to maximum, and the seat warmers were on too. My parents warmed up and hesitantly nodded. Things were far from as optimistic as I had hoped. An hour later, the traffic was still jammed, and a long line had formed behind us, with car lights stretching into the unseen distance. The first to run out of power were the electric cars. A mother holding her child trembled as she got out of her car, having dismantled the seat cushion to wrap around her child. She cried as she knocked on the window of the car next to her. "The car's out of power. Please let us in, or my child will freeze to death." Her tears froze in the cold wind and fell to the ground. The driver of the adjacent car, also a woman, kindly opened her door and let her in. The grateful woman tearfully thanked her and got into the car with her child. My mom looked solemn and sighed. "This is terrible. What on earth is happening? I hope Delilah's dream isn't true, otherwise." My dad frowned and rubbed his hands together. As the night deepened, the sound of horns had greatly diminished. Everyone was Trying to conserve fuel and stay warm. Suddenly, my mom's stomach growled from the back seat. She blushed and said, "I wish I hadn't complained about the airplane food being bad. Delilah, do we have anything to eat in the car?" Before we left, I had packed some food in the car, never imagining we'd actually need it. I reached under the co-driver's seat and handed my mom 3 boxes of self-heating rice. "It's not much, but it'll have to do. Everything else is at home." My mom poured mineral water into the self-heating pot and sealed it. Setting it aside, the heating pack quickly warmed up, and the water started to boil, releasing the scent of sausage oil from the cracks in the box. I had never been interested in self-heating rice meals before. How could these instant products ever compare to fresh food? However, as soon as the box was opened, the wafting aroma made my stomach churn and tighten with hunger. Saliva was continuously secreted. I then remembered that I had been so busy all day that I hadn't eaten anything. The sausage was cut into small pieces, glistening with layers of fat and lean. Biting into it, the slightly hard-cured meat, mixed with fat, burst into flavors in my mouth. The rice was steamed to soft perfection, thoroughly mingling with the sauce and the aroma of the sausage. A big mouthful left nothing but satisfaction, soothing my rumbling stomach. My mom was truly hungry, wolfing down her meal, and exclaimed, "This is the first time I've found self-heating rice this delicious." I quickly finished the remaining rice, packed up, and sealed everything tightly in a plastic bag, tucking it under the seat. After eating, I felt a bit sleepy and leaned back in the seat, struggling to keep my eyes open. Time ticked by, and the surroundings grew busier. Numerous drivers whose cars had stalled came out seeking help. Some were fortunate to find kind souls to take them in, while others helplessly tapped on every car window like headless flies. After what felt like an eternity, the voice of a staff member came through the loudspeaker. "The temperature has dropped sharply. Please keep warm, maintain order, and proceed in an orderly manner." The temperature has dropped sharply. Please keep warm, maintain order, and proceed in an orderly manner. I opened my eyes to see the cars ahead slowly moving. I quickly perked up and pressed on the accelerator to keep up. "It's better than I expected." I tried to sound cheerful, but realized my parents behind me were silent. They were busy wiping the fog from the rear window, staring silently at the back. Looking through the rearview mirror, a chill ran down my spine, feeling as though I was plunging into an icy cave. In the stream of cars behind, a few people lay rigid on the ground, their uncovered limbs pale against the snow, almost blending in with their surroundings. These were people whose cars had stalled, and who hadn't found anyone willing to take them in. Now they had frozen to death in the snow. I took a quick glance. There were at least 7 or 8 bodies lying in the snow, and more too far to see clearly. So, how many had frozen to death inside their cars? How many more? I looked around. Some cars hadn't moved at all, unresponsive to any honking, and the cars behind had no choice but to drive around them. These drivers, my heart sank, and I gripped the steering wheel tighter. On the first day of severe cold, so many had died. It was the first time I faced this harsh reality, but there was no time to think further. The cars ahead had started moving, and I shook my head to clear it and accelerated off the highway. The city's nightlife had abruptly hit the pause button. The streets, usually bustling with people enjoying skewers and beer, were now completely deserted. All that remained was a dead silence. My mom wiped the fog from the window and leaned worriedly against my dad. We weren't too far from the airport, and after half an hour's drive, we finally arrived. The supermarket in our neighborhood was packed with people in down jackets, everyone wearing hats and scarves, with only their eyes visible. "Shall we also buy some?" My mom hesitated as she looked out the window. "I'm not sure how long the supplies Delilah bought will last. Let's stock up. In this cold, they won't spoil." My dad nodded, opened the car door, and got out. The supermarket, usually spacious with 2 floors, was now overwhelmed with people, all crammed together, loudly calling out. My mom led the charge into the crowd, no longer picky about which snacks, like chicken or mushroom instant noodles, were less tasty. Whatever was available, she stuffed it all into the basket. Especially popular were chili and alcohol. By the time we got there, not much chili sauce or alcohol was left on the shelves. My mom simply signaled for my dad to clear out whatever was left. When we came back, the supermarket had just opened. However, there were already a lot of people around, and I could only get the leftovers on the shelves. The crowd outside kept growing, but the supermarket was already out of stock, apart from some daily necessities. All the shelves were empty. An elderly lady began to complain loudly. "What are we supposed to buy if you've taken everything? Don't you have any decency?" But everyone was looking out for themselves, and no one paid her any attention. There was also a stylish young couple. The girl looked worried. "What will we do without food?" The boy was indifferent. "If there's none, there's none. They're just a bunch of people who haven't seen the world. It's just abnormal weather. We still have instant noodles at home. Let's just go back and eat those." After finally squeezing through the crowd, my mother's hair was all disheveled, but she was still happy, proudly pointing at the jar of Lauganma chili sauce in her basket. If I hadn't been quick, another lady would have grabbed it. The cold wind was getting stronger, and the snowflakes were as big as half a finger. Soon, a layer of white frost formed on our eyelashes. Our faces stung from the cold as we finally made it Into the building's entrance, the hallway was icy cold, devoid of any warmth, but at least there was no wind. As we went upstairs, we ran into a few neighbors. Everyone was carrying groceries, some with cabbages, others with radishes, and some with a good amount of instant food. Only the woman from upstairs was empty-handed, probably because she came down too late. She didn't manage to grab anything and looked enviously at our bags. My husband said this weather will clear up in a couple of days. Be careful, you might buy too much and it'll just rot at home. Everyone tacitly ignored her. An elderly lady downstairs sighed. What's going on with this weather? It's so cold. My son and his wife can't make it back from their company. Yeah, the buses and subways have stopped, and you can't even hail a taxi. It was so hot yesterday, and the news didn't say when this will end. Another woman complained, rubbing her red, frozen hands. I had taken all our winter clothes back to my hometown, and it took me forever to find a jacket. I would have frozen to death otherwise. The elderly lady looked enviously at my mom. You're lucky. Your whole family is at home. No need to worry about your kids. My mom comforted her briefly before we got off the elevator. Our home was as cold as an ice cellar, and the meat I had bought was frozen solid in the storage room. Fortunately, the electricity hadn't gone out yet. I quickly turned on all the air conditioners outside, and it took a while before it finally warmed up. I sealed every nook and cranny of the doors and windows, leaving only 2 windows in the living room open for ventilation, and added thick layers of insulation around them. The electric heater was also turned on, emitting a warm, orange glow. After a while, my mom's face finally regained some color. She took off her down jacket and turned on the TV. The news was unexpectedly calm, still showing yesterday's broadcast with no hint of the cold disaster, only an emergency broadcast reminded residents to prepare for the unusual temperatures and to keep warm. After all, it had only been half a day, but social media was already in an uproar. I opened my phone, and the hashtag temperature drop topic had skyrocketed to the top of the trending list. Everyone was heatedly discussing it. Suddenly it's freezing here. It's now minus 20 degrees Celsius at home. What's going on? Same in Beijing. I was overheating before bed, and they even issued a heatwave warning, but damn it, I woke up freezing. In the middle of the night, the windows are all iced up, damn, and the snow's already up to my ankles. Am I still dreaming? I frowned. Clearly, everyone hadn't yet grasped the severity of the situation and were still jokingly discussing it. Even someone in my circle had foolishly gone out to make a video in the snow, lying down and moving their limbs joyfully, thoroughly enjoying themselves. I'm not a saint, but I wasn't really aiming to be a standout, but after hesitating a bit, I still posted a message on YouTube. Looks like the end of the world is upon us. Better start hoarding some supplies. Hashtag temperature drop. Because I included a hashtag, my post quickly gathered a few comments. Are you a primary school kid, watching too many movies to think about hoarding? It's just abnormal weather. Why create panic? I also feel like it's the end of the world. It's terrifying. Still not done hoarding salt from the earthquake scare. Are you? Hoard all you want then. I sighed and turned off my phone. Go rest a bit more. You didn't sleep well last night either, I said to my dad, who was frowning and smoking by the window. Conserve your energy. The tough times are still ahead. Once I lay down in bed, the overwhelming exhaustion I had suppressed surged through me. For the past 3 days, I had been racing against time without sleep, and now, finally, things seem to have settled a bit. Now, I'm somewhat grateful that my dad is an orphan, and that my grandparents died early and we don't have many relatives. Otherwise, I'd have a whole family to worry about. I slept soundly, and in my dream, it felt like I plunged into an icy sea. The cold, like a monster with tentacles, clung to me, dragging me deeper into the abyss. I was awakened by my mom's scream. I threw off the blanket and ran out, only to find my parents standing by the window, my mom covering her mouth, and my dad with a solemn expression. I approached and noticed the snow outside had lessened a bit, but the temperature was still dropping. Overnight, the entire world seemed to have frozen over. Everywhere you looked was blanketed in white. Initially, the property management braved the cold to clear the snow, but it was too cold, and they soon gave up. Our apartment is on the edge of the building, allowing us to see the streets. There were quite a few people, all huddled in front of the supermarket waiting for it to open, shivering yet reluctant to go home. Overnight, everyone realized that this cold wave had hit the entire world. This was no longer just a temporary weather anomaly. My dad wrapped his arms around my mom's shoulders, pulling her away from the window, and whispered reassuringly, "Don't worry, we have plenty of supplies. We'll be fine." My mom nodded, her eyes red. Meanwhile, a broadcaster's voice carried over. The morning news was reporting on the temperature drop, not just here, but in the United States, Russia, Japan, Germany, India, Mexico, Australia. The entire world was experiencing this cooling. The Statue of Liberty's torch was covered with thick snow. The deserts around the pyramids were blanketed in white, and even the waters near the vacation paradise of the Maldives had frozen, with the waves permanently captured in their final crash. A bald expert with glasses explained to the camera that this was merely a cold snap caused by a solar flare, and it would soon pass, urging the public not to panic. I scoffed and went to prepare lunch in this freezing weather. I suddenly craved a steaming hot pot. Luckily, we had ready-made broth and dipping sauces, and I'd bought plenty before. My mom had managed to grab a few boxes of sliced meat, and I added some seafood, vegetables, and meatballs. Now, the temperature in our storage room felt like spring compared to outside, so I simply unplugged the refrigerator. In times like these, one should live a little better, not knowing what tomorrow might bring. Perhaps a warm and comforting hot pot could give us more courage to face the unknown disasters. The mildly spicy butter base slowly melted in the hot water, soon boiling and releasing a spicy aroma. I added some sliced green onions and ginger to ward off the cold, and once the water boiled, I put in the meat. The frosted slices softened quickly in the boiling water, losing their bright red color as they bobbed in the spicy broth. The steam from the hot pot instantly cleared the worry from my mom's face, and she eagerly began fishing out the meat to eat. The supermarket downstairs is quite upscale, offering good quality meats that, once soaked in the mildly spicy soup and rolled in a dipping sauce mixed with sesame oil, garlic, chili, cilantro, and green onions, became enveloped in a thick, flavorful coating. Biting into the tender beef mixed with the spicy broth and rich sauce was a burst of flavors. The tripe left only tenderness and crunchiness behind. The dip isn't necessary. The base alone with its spicy aroma is enough. With a gentle bite, the juicy broth bursts forth. The power hasn't gone out yet, but it's so cold outside that our home's air conditioning barely makes a difference. We all get up wrapped in thick flannel pajamas. A bite of hot pot sends a fiery heat coursing through my body, making me sweat. My dad, grinning, pulled out a bottle of chilled beer from one of the fridges. The fridge is more like an insulated box now. If this beer were outside, it would probably explode from the freeze. Who's up for some hot pot noodles? I asked, pulling out a box of hand-pulled noodles from the fridge. That's quite lavish, isn't it? My mom glanced at me, noticing the meat, seafood, and tripe I'd taken out, along with the noodles. Just enjoy your meal, my dad said, adding some shrimp to her bowl. We don't know how long we can live like this. Better eat up while we can. My mom scoffed and lifted her bowl. Add some noodles for me too. Hot pot noodles, the soul of the hot pot, without which the meal feels incomplete. The originally bland noodles took on a rich flavor in the broth that had stewed meat and seafood, each strand tinged with a slight red hue, mixed with some leafy greens. It brought an overwhelming sense of satisfaction. I burped contentedly and couldn't bother to clear the dishes, slumping in my chair to scroll through my phone. If I remember correctly, in a few days we'll completely lose water and power, not to mention the internet. I need to check what's happening outside now. The news has updated the number of deaths worldwide due to this cold snap. In the US, 48,713 people. In Russia, 54,186, in the UK, 13,652, even Singapore has seen 3,560 deaths due to the freeze. Most of these were homeless, utterly defenseless against the sudden disaster, and this is just the beginning. The death toll is expected to skyrocket. In the face of such natural disasters, humanity is as fragile as ants. Opening my social media, the joking atmosphere of yesterday has completely vanished. Nearly everyone is discussing the sudden drop in temperature. My house is below freezing. The heater can't keep up. How long is this cold going to last? Some experts say it's temporary, but I see zero-cost shopping starting in the US. It's a global disaster. The ice age is here. Is this the end for humanity? Messages in the group chat are flooding in so fast I can barely read them. Everyone is uniformly stocking up on supplies, although the so-called experts claim this is just temporary. Almost every supermarket has been ransacked. A mother in the group is asking for help. I'm running out of baby formula at home. Does anyone have any spare? Her message quickly gets buried, with no one responding. In the face of disaster, it seems unfair to blame human selfishness. I sighed. Clearly, no one believes this cooling is just a temporary climate anomaly caused by a solar flare, as the experts have said, but they have no idea about the disaster that is about to unfold. The temperature of -20 degrees will only last a couple of days before it drops even further, and then, people without water or power will have no means to survive. In just 3 days, the global population will have decreased by a third. The cold hell has begun, as expected. On the third night, I was awoken by the severe cold. In my dream, I seemed to be encased in ice, every pore of my body radiating cold, making me curl up and shiver. When I woke up, I realized just how astonishingly cold it was inside the house. The cold air was dense, laying heavy on the floor, making even breathing feel sluggish. I really felt Like I was sleeping in an ice cellar, even though I was wearing thick pajamas. My whole body was icy. I exhaled sharply and was surprised to see my breath turn white. My heart skipped a beat, and I rushed to check the air conditioner. As expected, the screen was completely black. It had stopped working. On the third day of the extreme cold, our power went out. My parents also woke up from the cold, my mom rubbing her hands together, her speech visible in puffs of white breath. "It's so cold. Who turned off the heating?" I glanced at the thermometer on the wall, -34 degrees, and that's with thermal insulation installed in our home, which means the temperature outside has dropped even further. It must have already reached below -40 degrees. My father's face began to look grim as he pressed the light switch in the room. There was no response. The hall was plunged into darkness, with only the pale and weak light from the moon shining on the snow outside the window. "The power's out," my father said seriously. "Delilah, didn't you install a wood stove? I'll get some firewood, and tonight we'll sleep around the stove." To prepare for power outages, I had both a coal stove and a wood stove installed. However, since the coal stove had poor ventilation and was prone to causing poisoning, the wood stove was the preferred choice. My father stacked a bundle of firewood in the stove and lit it. We wrapped ourselves in sleeping bags and slept on the carpet next to it, in the darkness. The orange flames dispelled the cold, and my frozen hands and feet slowly regained sensation after initially stinging. The wood crackled as it burned, occasionally sending sparks flying into the air before they extinguished. Although it wasn't as warm as an air conditioner, it was significantly better. Watching the flickering flames and listening to the faint sound of the wood popping, a wave of sleepiness gradually overtook my brain. I closed my eyes. After the power outage, the situation completely spiraled out of control. Residents with battery left on their phones flooded the chat group. "Does anyone have spare clothes? My child is almost freezing to death. Please help us. We've run out of food at home. Willing to pay a high price for food. Price negotiable. There's no water either. The pipes have burst. Can't the property management think of something? If this continues, we'll die of thirst if not from the cold." But there was no property management anymore. The sound of glass shattering came from downstairs. I looked down and was shocked to see people unable to withstand the hunger and cold attacking stores, smashing windows and rushing in to loot and vandalize. My heart pounded as I looked towards the storeroom. I had overlooked this danger before. With so much stored in my home, the consequences could be unimaginable if discovered. Just as I was panicking, there actually came the sound of someone banging on doors in the hallway. My father gestured for me to be silent, picked up a kitchen knife, and stealthily moved towards the door. The banging and heavy footsteps sounded like they were stomping on my heart, with a man's cursing echoing in the closed hallway. Soon, the footsteps approached, and my door was violently struck. "Open up. Do you have any food? Share it with us." Our family looked at each other, silent. We recognized the voice. It was the man from upstairs. Rumor had it he used to be involved with gangs, and after the big gang leader was jailed during a crackdown, he served 2 years and had been unemployed and staying at home since. This man was over 6 feet tall, burly, and covered in tattoos, an intimidating sight. We were no saints. His family had caused us trouble before, and I didn't have that much goodwill. "I know someone's home. You were renovating a few days ago. If you don't open up, I'll break down the door," the man threatened viciously. After receiving no response, he began to ram the door. My heart was in my throat, my grip tightening on the kitchen knife. But the worst didn't happen. Our front door was sturdy enough. After a while, he cursed and moved on to the next house. It seemed the man upstairs must have run out of supplies, or he wouldn't have resorted to trying to steal food. At that moment, everyone's doors were shut tight, and he was unlikely to get any help. I breathed a sigh of relief, my hands sticky and quickly turning cold with sweat. In the following days, we stayed huddled at home. We pulled out all the blankets and piled them on the bed, but even with several layers, our feet were still cold at night. We became more cautious when eating, sealing the doors and windows with tape before eating anything with a scent. An innocent man is guilty when carrying a gem. At this time, human nature is not to be trusted. Order has completely fallen into chaos. Every day, the sound of smashing can be heard from downstairs, and the bodies lying in the snow include not only those frozen to death but also those murdered. The weather is so cold that blood freezes soon after it flows out, turning into blocks of ice blood. The man upstairs has been shouting and banging on doors daily, but no one opens for him. After 3 days of pounding on doors, he was no longer seen. Things have indeed taken a turn for the worse. A month later, our supply of firewood and coal is nearly depleted. Time is running out, and I don't have much money left. The fuel available for purchase is severely limited. Despite using it sparingly, it is running out quickly. At night, my mother shivers terribly from the cold, her face pale and bluish. I placed a heating pad on her, but it was no use. In the extreme cold, even the heating pad seemed unable to warm up. We all knew that without finding more fuel, we were going to die. Just when we were at our wits' end, there was a sudden knock at the door. My dad thought it was the man upstairs and cautiously approached, only to find, through the peephole, that it was the property manager. Since the onset of the cold Disaster, the property manager hadn't spoken in the group chat, but suddenly he appeared this time. While we were still puzzled, the property manager seemed to understand our wariness. He briefly showed his face to let us see him, then quickly wrapped up thickly again and said in a muffled voice, "Mr. Liu, none of the residents have anything to warm themselves with. We plan to go to the suburban woods to chop some firewood to bring back. Would you like to join us?" He didn't wait for our reply and continued, "The group will gather at the community gate at 10 o'clock. We aim to return before sunset." Saying this, he went on to knock on the next door. There is strength in numbers. The property manager wanted to gather more people, so in case of any issues, they could help each other out. When he knocked on the door upstairs, a woman's shrill voice echoed through the hallway. "Are you insane? Do you know how much we pay in property fees each year? Shouldn't you be chopping wood for us to use? And we're out of food too. Hurry up and bring some, do you hear me, or else I'll complain." Believe it or not, the property manager was so amused and angry that he argued with her for a bit, then decided it was pointless and continued on his way. My dad hesitated for a moment, then went back into the room to put on his thickest fur coat and wrapped himself in a down jacket. "I'll go and see, you two wait at home." Saying this, he was about to leave. My mother panicked. "I'll come with you." "How much wood can you carry by yourself?" "Delilah can stay and watch the house." I sighed. "Let's go together, gather more, and make fewer trips." Unable to argue with us, the three of us geared up and left the house. All we had at home were kitchen and chopping knives. Before leaving, I thought about it and tucked a dagger into my chest. When we reached downstairs, quite a few people had already gathered, mostly young people. There were some elderly as well, but very few. Most elderly people couldn't survive such low temperatures, and whether they could make it back safely was uncertain. No one would take the risk if they weren't desperate. My gaze casually drifted to the side, then suddenly stiffened. Bodies lying on the ground had become somewhat normal, and everyone just tried to keep their distance. But the female corpse not far away was very familiar. She was the lady who ran the spicy hot pot restaurant next door. In her early years, she had abandoned her husband and child to elope here with her lover, only to find out her lover was already married. After being abandoned, she had no face to return and ended up setting up a stall in the community, which gradually grew into a storefront. She was wrapped up in thick clothes, her face nearly as white as the snow, eyes open, curled up in a street corner. Death had not closed her eyes. A shiver ran through my heart. She was someone I knew, having seen her just recently, her lips painted a bold red, exuding warmth and enthusiasm. Now, she lay silently frozen to death in a corner, pale and cold. I had no idea why she died here, whether she couldn't bear the cold inside and went out looking for a solution or for some other reason, but I felt an overwhelming sense of suffocation. I knew that deaths like hers were now common all around the world. There was no time to think further. The property manager, using a loudspeaker, announced, "Residents, we face a disaster and must unite to survive. We all know we won't last long in this cold. There's a forest in the east where we can chop some wood for heating. Let's set out now and make sure we return before sunset." No one responded. Very few had enough food stored at home. Half a month was about the survival limit for most households. Now, everyone was both cold and hungry, driven solely by the will to live. The biting wind swept the snow against our faces, first causing unbearable stinging, then numbness, and eventually a loss of sensation. It was incredibly dangerous. The temperature outside had dropped to below -50 degrees Celsius. Exposed skin would start to necrotize within minutes in these conditions. After walking for what felt like an eternity, a girl next to me suddenly screamed. I turned and saw she was in a panic. Her ears, which she hadn't realized were exposed, had probably numbed from the intense cold and had now fallen off without her feeling them. Yet, there was no blood. Her ears lay quietly on the ground as she cried out in horror, "Help me. My ears have fallen off. Take me to the hospital." But no one paid her any attention. Hospitals had long been closed, and there were no doctors available to reattach her ears. Not to mention, everyone was a stranger to each other now, only concerned with gathering enough firewood from the little forest to keep warm. The continuous oppression, combined with the shock of this scene, made the girl let out a terrible scream and stagger towards the snowy distance. No one stopped her, knowing well that leaving the group in this weather meant certain death. An older woman nearby sighed softly. The snowstorm intensified, and even at noon, the sky was a dull gray, filled with swirling snowflakes. I never felt such hardship in my life. Moving forward mechanically, driven by sheer willpower, all vehicles were inoperable, and the little remaining fuel had been used for heating our homes. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to walk this strenuously. Just as I was about to give up, the property manager at the front, his voice tinged with excitement, announced, "We're here, let's chop as much as we can to minimize our trips outside." Without needing further encouragement, everyone visibly perked up. The previously lifeless crowd dispersed, rushing into the snow-covered woods. My father took out a kitchen knife and began chopping at the branches vigorously. Now, wet or dry, any wood that could burn was good enough. In an instant, the small forest was teeming with people, each frantically wielding tools to cut down the trees. When we left, I carried a basket on my back and brought a bundle of bed sheets twisted into a rope. My parents chopped at the front while I collected what they cut with many hands. The basket on my back quickly filled up, and the rest we tied with the rope and strapped to my mother. Everyone's focus was on the trees in front of them. I didn't need to chop wood, so I looked around and was drawn to a small mound of snow nearby. What caught my attention wasn't the snow mound itself, but a small patch of gray visible at the edge, covered by the snow and hard to discern. I glanced around to see if anyone noticed, then stealthily ran over and reached into the snow, pulling out a frozen, stiff wild rabbit. It really was a rabbit. I had seen rabbits here before while walking. They were incredibly fast, zipping past and darting into the woods. Now, with the temperatures so low, the wildlife too had mostly perished. I discreetly shielded the rabbit from view with my body and quickly tucked it into the basket on my back, covering it with a thick layer of firewood. We still had some food at home, but no one could say for sure how long it would last. At such times, no one would complain about having too many supplies. Just as I was about to stand up, I looked up alertly, only to see a woman wrapped in furs watching me. My heart sank, but she didn't speak. Instead, she just nodded at me and walked away. I was surprised but soon recognized her. She was our neighbor from downstairs. She had given us celebratory cakes when her daughter turned 1 month old, and she always greeted us when we saw each other. She had seen me find the rabbit but didn't shout or come over to ask for a share. Mixed feelings surged in my heart. I decided to cook the rabbit in the evening and bring her a bowl. If others show kindness, I cannot pretend not to see it. As the sun moved westward, the property manager checked the sky and called out to us loudly, "We need to hurry, or it'll be dark when we return, and we'll all freeze to death." Though many were reluctant, they couldn't hold out any longer and began to gather their firewood to leave. Only a few continued chopping more wood, seemingly not hearing and continuing to swing their axes. The property manager sighed silently but said nothing more, leading us back. The journey home felt even longer. It was afternoon, and the temperature kept dropping. However, with the hope of warmth on our backs, everyone was full of energy. Even moving faster than when we had arrived, everyone seemed to have a renewed hope for life, a glint of light flashing in their eyes. I quickened my pace and entered the building. The howling wind was left behind as I stepped into the icy, still stairwell, thankfully now without wind. The golden light of the setting sun was torn by the wind and snow, leaving only dim embers that sparsely filtered through the windows. I shook the ice from my hair, but at the moment I looked up, I froze. In the dimly lit stairwell, a distorted, elongated shadow appeared around the corner near my home. The shadow held a knife, its blade drawn out long. I signaled my parents behind me, pointing at the shadow. My dad understood, quickly setting down his bundle of firewood and drawing the kitchen knife from behind him, stealthily moving toward the shadow. The shadow moved slightly upon hearing the sound. "Damn you," my dad shouted as he lunged up the stairs, slashing at the shadow with the knife. The woman from upstairs stumbled out from the shadows, narrowly dodging my dad's knife. In her panic, she dropped her watermelon knife with a clang to the floor. She clenched her teeth, about to pick up the knife, but my mom swiftly kicked it away. Sure enough, the woman upstairs didn't want to go out and suffer chopping wood and had instead hidden by our door, planning to steal what was already there. In times like these, stealing supplies was no different from murder, especially with her wielding such a long knife. The woman's expression was fierce as she screamed and lunged at me. "Have you no heart? My whole family is freezing to death. My husband is sick. Why can't you share your firewood with us? Give me the firewood." I scoffed coldly. She seemed to think this was just like before the apocalypse, accustomed to her disruptive antics, but now, no one would indulge her any longer. I dodged quickly, and the woman, unable to stop her momentum, stumbled forward. I discreetly stuck out a foot. She tripped and rolled down the stairs, her scream abruptly stopping. The watermelon knife, which my mom had kicked away, lodged in the railing of the corridor, its tip emerging from her chest, darkening her clothes with blood. The woman stared in disbelief, her lips trembling. You actually dare to kill? Get me to the hospital." With a blank expression, I replied, "We were acting in self-defense. Moreover, who killed you? You had this coming." The woman tried to speak again but couldn't catch her breath. Her eyes were wide open, lifeless. When adrenaline was pumping, I didn't feel much, but now that she was dead, my parents and I felt an indescribable sense of unease. We are all law-abiding citizens and have never broken the law, yet, at that moment, we were facing a corpse. Even though she didn't die by our hands, it was impossible to say we were completely uninvolved, but it was too cold. The temperature no longer allowed us to stand idly by. My father sighed and hurried us indoors. Once home, we put the last few pieces of coal into the stove to warm our hands. The melting snow dripped onto the ground, freezing again. The wood we chopped was also placed in front of the stove to dry, ready to be used for burning at night. This trip outside nearly froze us all, especially my mother, who couldn't stop shivering, and it took her a long time to regain feeling in her hands. As the sun set, the sky gradually darkened, and the darkness enveloped the horizon. The nightlife in Q City was usually bustling. At this time, lights would typically light up the surroundings, and the streets would be busy with traffic, but now, all I could Sea was darkness, and outside, besides the howling cold wind, there was only dead silence. Seeing my parents feeling down, I emptied out the firewood and pulled out a rabbit from the basket, cheerfully saying, "Look what I've found. I just picked it up under a tree." My mother's eyes lit up suddenly. She couldn't care less about warming her hands anymore, and grabbed the rabbit from me with a big smile. "A rabbit? Oh, our Delilah is really a little lucky star. So many people didn't see it, but you found it." My father also laughed. "I'll get it ready. We've been eating cold meals for days. Let's have something hot tonight." My father, being from Sichuan, is an expert at making spicy rabbit. He used to prepare a jar of it for me to take to school when I was in college. Now that it was cold, he set up the firewood in the stove, grabbed a handful of chili, Sichuan pepper, and star anise, and threw them into the pot to release their fragrance before adding the rabbit meat. The sound of water sizzling in oil, a sound I hadn't heard in a long time, suddenly made my eyes tear up. The rabbit meat was quickly stir-fried in the pot, filling the air with a strange and delicious aroma. My stomach grumbled as I constantly swallowed saliva. Soon, the meat was ready. My father served the rabbit in a bowl and poured boiled snow water into a self-heating rice container. The hot rice released steam as the three of us gathered around the table, grabbing pieces of rabbit meat. The rabbit, mixed with chili, was bright red and glossy, fragrant with oil. One bite, and the incredible tenderness overwhelmed me, my mouth filled with a spicy and slightly sweet flavor. The rabbit meat was fresh, firm yet tender, and chewy. The sweet and salty sauce it was cooked and added to the flavor, leaving us speechless, our chopsticks almost blurring with speed between the plates to save on firewood. Our family only lit the fire in the evenings, spending the days huddled under blankets in bed for warmth. We only had one warm meal at night, and eventually, even that was gone. Now, having hot, fragrant rice and dishes moved everyone to tears. After dinner, I told my parents about the neighbor downstairs. My mother hesitated for a moment, then packed a bowl of rabbit meat, sealing it tightly with plastic wrap to take downstairs. The woman's body still lay on the stairs, frozen stiff, her complexion ghastly pale. My mother frowned and closed her eyes as she stepped over it. Nowadays, every household was beginning to run out of food, with most having consumed all their stored supplies. My mother carefully ensured that the rabbit meat didn't emit any scent as she knocked on the door, quickly passed it through, and then ran back home. Our neighbor was momentarily stunned, probably not expecting us to share the rabbit meat with her. She nodded gratefully toward us and hurriedly closed the door. The firewood at home was already being used sparingly, but it lasted less than 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, the property management once again gathered the homeowners in the community to go out and chop wood. This time, however, the number of people had halved, leaving only a sparse group of about a dozen. With no food and no electricity, very few people could endure for so long. When the last log of wood was burned, my father made a pot of meat soup. Drinking a spicy bowl of meat soup in the icy and snowy conditions was an unparalleled delight, yet none of the three of us showed any sign of happiness. Everyone knew that after the last log was burned, we would face endless extreme cold. The final moments inevitably arrived. Time seemed to freeze. After an unknown amount of time, even the last pieces of wood were gone. The small woods in the eastern suburbs had been completely chopped down by the survivors, and even the trees and green belts on the streets that could be chopped were gone. Looking around, the entire world had turned a complete silvery white. The temperature had dropped to -60 degrees Celsius. Our family of 3 had no activities left. Every day, we lay in bed wrapped in several layers of blankets, shivering. We had food, but no fire to cook it. There was snow all around, but it couldn't be melted for drinking. Every day, we ate one frozen bun, which was so solidly frozen it was harder than a rock. Throwing it could probably kill someone. The whole world was frozen. The faint candlelight from the building across the street had disappeared, and even the property management hadn't come by for a long time. It seemed as if everyone else had already died. Only our family of 3 remained, desperately clinging to life, and we were probably about to die soon. My mom crawled into my blanket, hugged me tightly, and softly sang the lullaby she used to sing to put me to sleep when I was a child. But as she sang, she began to choke up. She patted my back and said with a trembling voice, "Sleep, Delilah. It will be better if you sleep." My dad also came over, wrapped in a blanket, and hugged us, closing his eyes. "In the next life, I'll still be your dad," he said. I laughed through my tears. "It's my turn to take care of you next time, Dad. I'll look after you." He glared at me. "What are you talking about? I'll always be your dad." The 50-something-year-old man suddenly had tears in his eyes. "It's my fault. I couldn't take care of you all. It's okay. We'll look out for each other on the road to the underworld, and we'll reincarnate well next time." I teared up and nodded with a bitter smile. Could it be that even if I live another life, I can't escape this fate? Indeed, who knows how long the cold disaster will last. We've done our best to endure until now. The pain in my body slowly faded, and I gradually lost feeling in my limbs. Then a strange warmth emerged. I knew it was an illusion caused by hypothermia. When climbers were found frozen to death, some had stripped off their clothes, appearing as if they had died from heat. But that was just an illusion caused by hypothermia. At that moment, I probably felt the same, but the warmth became more distinct, and I frowned, opening my eyes and touched the electric blanket beneath me. It wasn't an illusion. What I touched was genuinely warm. Just as I was puzzled, a faint crackling sound suddenly came from the TV in the living room. We looked at each other. People scrambled out of their beds frantically, rolling and crawling as they rushed outside. It seemed that the electronic components were damaged by the cold, causing the television screen to flicker with dark stripes. It looked broken, yet the voices coming from it brought tears to our eyes. Central Broadcasting Station, Central CRA-Station. Fighting the cold disaster is a major event concerning all humanity. CRA. The whole country is mobilizing for rescue efforts. The Central Disaster Response Headquarters has already made rescue arrangements, and rescue teams have begun to assist from all directions. Power has been restored in some areas. CRA. Believe in the resilience of life. Pray for the miracles of life. Please hold on, we will never give up. Tears uncontrollably streamed down, freezing into tiny ice bumps as they hit the ground. I sat down on the floor, hugging the television and sobbing loudly. My parents, too, were wiping their tears, embracing each other and crying. It seemed the wiring was damaged by the freeze. The lights flickered dimly, yet outside, countless lights shined brightly, forming a luminous great wall in the night. A faint voice shouted into the darkness, "Is anyone still alive?" Just when we were about to lose hope, a small girl's voice rang through the night sky. "We're still here." Soon after, another voice spoke. "Here, neighbor on the 23rd floor of building 28. Are you guys okay?" Someone cried out. "Everyone in the floors above and below me are gone. I'm the only one left. I'm here too. The nation has already started the rescue. Neighbors, hold on. Our family of 3 is here. I'm still alive too. Does anyone have any food? We're starving." All these weak voices gathered together, igniting the hope of life. Tears in my voice, I shouted into the night sky, "I'm here too. We will definitely survive."